on the road to MotoGP. Live from Whilton Mill. FAB-Racing Minibikes British Championship. Live from Whilton Mill. This is FAB-Racing Minibikes British Championship.
Hello and welcome to round 7 of the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship. You join myself, Lewis Ray, and the long time with this weekend, Ross McIntyre, here at Whilton Mill. And we have 10 fantastic races coming up on Saturday's programme. But before we get into any of that, let's have a walk in the paddock where we had a talk and a chat to some of the riders. So we're here with Tommy Williams and Freddie Taylor. Both of the riders are racing in the AC40 Rookies at the moment. And Tommy, well, you've got a little blast to your head at the moment after Friday practice. Tell us what happened in your crash.
When I was trying to turn, the bike wouldn't turn, then I just went over the handlebars.
And how are you feeling now after that crash?
Really good.
And well, so far, apart from your crash, how has it been on the Whilton Mill circuit?
A lot of fun.
And what's so fun about this track?
Because there's a lot of good places to overtake.
And this weekend, well, you're battling for the 14th and 15th in the championship with Freddie next to you. So how are you feeling towards that, racing with one of your friends?
A lot of fun as well.
And is Freddie your main rival at the moment? Is he the person you really want to beat?
Not really.
Still friends on the circuit. And Freddie, well, how are you finding this circuit? It's really warm today and it's really hot in the sun, so how are you finding it riding in such hot conditions?
Good. I'm quite good in the dry, and in the wet it just wasn't working so good, so I just like being at this track because I've practiced here a lot at some practice nights here.
And at Rowra, with the tough conditions, do you think that's why you struggled the last round, or do you think maybe there was one or two things that you could have worked on?
Yeah, there could have been, but I just didn't like Rowra's track either.
And so Whilton Mill, is this your favourite track of the calendar since you have so much practice on the circuit?
Yeah.
And what is it that you enjoy so much about this track?
It's just flowy and good.
And we spoke to Tommy there briefly just about you guys racing on the circuit. You're battling for 14th, 15th position in the championship. So do you want to go out there and try and beat Tommy, or are you still out there being his friends on the track?
Just out there trying to beat him, really.
Two completely different mindsets. Well, we wish you the best of luck for this weekend, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now then, Henry Brodie and Mason Fedrick are now with us in the paddock, and well, starting off with you, Henry, you had a great last round at Rowra. You were at the front fighting for the top 5 positions. What do you think it is that's allowed you to make that step and fight near the front?
That'd be good.
And Rowra, is that a circuit you enjoy, or is it just everything is slowly getting better with your riding?
It's my favourite track still.
And what makes it your favourite circuit at Rowra?
I just really like it in the wet.
And well, no wet conditions it looks like this weekend at Whilton Mill. So how are you looking forward to this weekend, or is this a track that you're not enjoying as much?
I enjoy it very much.
And well, racing the class this year, how are you finding it with such a tough field?
Really hard, but I'm good.
And who's the hardest person to beat at the moment for yourself?
Mason.
Well, Mason's sitting next to it now with a little grin on his face. And well, Mason, you had quite a big crash last time out at Rowra. How are you feeling after that?
Fine, really. At least I got the win.
And yeah, you did get the win in fine fashion at Rowra. What do you think it is that this season has allowed you to make that step and now are consistently at the front and battling for race wins?
I think it's just practice.
And well, Whilton Mill, have you had much practice around this circuit before, or is this still a track that you're learning every single lap?
I've been around here quite a lot.
And what's the toughest thing to learn about this circuit?
It's quite smooth.
And right now in the championship, you're now in championship contention with just 2 rounds remaining. How are you feeling towards that, and what is your mindset towards these last two rounds?
Pretty good.
And how do you think you're going to be able to battle it for the championship?
just try and keep up the good work.
And at the moment, are you going all out for race wins, or are you thinking about the championship points while you're on the motorcycle?
Thinking about the championship points.
Well, it's a very mature mindset. We wish best of luck to both of you guys this weekend. So best of luck, Henry and Mason.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. Taylor Tomlinson, I have to say, you're looking like one of the most confident mans in the paddock. So how are you feeling going into Whilton Mill?
I'm feeling, well, Seniors Round wasn't one of my best tracks. I know it was this last year, but now we're here and I've done a riding practice,
And well, this weekend you'll be racing in the LC40 Elites, and also this year is your first full season on the Mini GP 50 bike. How are you finding racing the Mini GP 50?
It's a bit, it's difficult. It's not the easiest of things, but I should be faster. I should be up with Matthew.
And what do you think it is at the moment which is separating you and not allowing you to fight for race wins in the Mini GP50 class?
Experience and tiredness, because I'm doing that twice and then I'm doing the 50 last.
Well, on the mini moto class, you are fighting for race wins and consistently at the front, and actually you're battling with your old rival Sebastian Gosowski. So how's that been this year, battling with him on the circuit?
It's been nervous, but not as bad as last year.
And do you think maybe that's down to getting a bit more experience racing motorcycles and allowing you to not get as nervous this year?
No, I think it's just because at the start of the season we had Rex fighting for second with me, and I think that just gave Seb the point. Rex took the points instead of Seb, so.
And we're looking towards the final round of the championship at Three Sisters. Is it a track that you've ever managed to ride before?
I've done 2 corners on a go-kart, yeah, but it's a tiny little hill, but you know, that's it.
Well, it should create some interesting racing for us all at home. And well, you can potentially wrap up the championship this weekend at Whilton Mill. How are you feeling towards that?
I'm feeling pretty confident, to be honest. Seb just needs to get all 3 races 4th, and I need to win them all, which, you know.
And so are you pure confidence? Do you think that you're just going to go out there on the circuit and go for pole position and all 3 race wins this weekend? Or if you don't have the pace, are you just going to leave a little reserved in the bag and leave it for Three Sisters?
I want to wrap it up this weekend, but I don't think I'm going to do a pole position or anything. I'll win 1.
Well, we wish you the best of luck for this weekend, and hopefully we can see you once again do the Macarena across the start-finish line.
Thank you.
Here with Harley Baker, the sun beaming down here at Whilton Mill for round 7 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. How are you feeling coming into the penultimate round of the season?
Yeah, good. I've got some good practice sessions. I got 2 5ths and a 6th, which is my best positions this season in any session. So, yeah, good.
And it's without a doubt the warmest round of the season we've had so far. It's looking like it's going to get up to 32 degrees on Saturday. What's it like for you when you're out there riding in such heat? Is it a big problem? Is it maybe not as much of an issue as some people would think?
It's very grippy, but it does get hot quite quick. After 3 quick laps, you are sweating and trying to wipe the sweat off your forehead and stuff. So, yeah.
And what does the temperature do to the tyres as well? Does it cause problems, especially later on in the weekend? Do the tyres maybe start to run out a little bit of grip, or do they manage to last the whole weekend in these conditions?
I'm not too sure about the tyres. It's grippy at the moment, and it's quite good at the moment. It's plenty of grip. You just chuck it onto the side, and it's good. So at the moment it's alright, but I'm not sure. We'll find out at the end. So
yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Well, thank you very much, Harley. Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
The man with the best socks in the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship paddock, Dean Harris. How are you doing today?
I'm quite warm, but it's been a good day already.
Yeah, it is very, very warm, to put it mildly. What's it like out there being so hot at the moment?
The back of the van is definitely warm, so I'm glad everybody's waiting until this evening for the rush on tyre changing.
And one of the big things that's been on my mind coming into this weekend is the tyres. Given it's just so hot out there, what do you think is going to happen, especially come the end of the weekend, the race 3s? Are we going to be seeing maybe some people struggling for lack of grip?
No, I think the tyres are really good this year. The PMT compound seems to be working really good for the kids. and they're not ripping up like they used to 2-3 years ago. So we're now seeing people stretch it to 2 race meetings to a pair of tyres. So even in this extreme heat, they're still going to get through the weekend without a lot of grief. The mixed weather we've had the last 2 or 3 rounds as well means people are in with dries, out, wets in, dries, wets, dries, wets. So they're not even destroying a set of tyres. So it's bad for business.
And how's the feeling in the Harris camp coming into this weekend? Is it all sunshine and rainbows? Everyone looking forward to a great weekend of racing?
Always looking to a great weekend of racing. Too many weekends of it, that's the problem.
No, the more racing, the merrier. As we see here some interference from Daniel Hall coming in to undo your laces. But thank you very much.
Panic humour.
That's one way to put it. But thank you very much for speaking to us, Dean, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you, have a good weekend.
Callum Maxwell, I believe it's the first time we've managed to get to speak to you this whole year, actually. So how's your season going?
I couldn't hear you.
How is your season going this year, Callum?
It's going really well. We had a small issue with the exhaust last session, like it started flaming a little bit. Other than that, it's been fine.
And the Mini GP50 class, how's that been learning to ride a geared bike this season?
It's been rather tricky, but I've gotten used to it by now.
And the Mini GP50 class, there's about 22, 23 years basically every single round. So what's it like racing such a big class, especially compared to, for example, the AC40 Pros, which you were racing in last year?
It's rather worrying because, you know, at any point they could get hit, but yeah, it's fine.
And what do you think you have to improve with your riding to be able to get yourself at the front?
I just have to improve. I think I just have to improve my confidence and start accelerating faster.
And well, this weekend at Whilton Mill, just 2 rounds left. What's your plans for the next season? Are you planning on staying in the Mini GP50 class next year, or have you got any other plans?
I believe we are learning this year, and next year we are really going to be going for it.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Hopefully next year we can see you at the front.
Thank you.
Oliver Hall, you're getting ready to go out on the circuit, and well, you've got a smile on your face. You're looking really comfortable this weekend. You're looking extremely happy. Tell us, how's it going?
Yeah, it's alright. My first session didn't start very well, but I've got up the pace and getting some, just trying to get some more couple of seconds in the corners.
And well, so far this season, you've had quite an up and down year with quite up and down results, some of it not being your problem, some of it being bike issues. So tell us, how have you found this season so far? Has it gone how you expected, or has it been quite challenging?
It's been quite challenging because some of the time I'm getting good results, but some of the other time I'm having bike issues, or it's just not working in my opinion. So, yeah.
And well, the bike issues, are you confident it's all sorted for this weekend?
Yeah, I think they're all sorted. I've went out on both bikes today. They both work.
Oh, they both are. That's always going to help. And well, we spoke to you at the start of the season, and you said you're going to be focusing on the mini moto classes rather than doing the 50 at the same time. So looking into 2024, are there plans to ride the Mini GP 50 and maybe move away from the mini motos, or do both again?
I'm not doing pros this year, or next year, because I'm not doing it this round. Pros isn't just my thing, but when I'm doing elites next in 2024, I think I'm going to be doing elite and pro.
And so no plans of the Mini GP 50 yet in 2024?
Elite and 50, sorry.
Well, we wish you the best of luck, and actually go out and enjoy the circuit. The sun is out and bikes are out, so what more can you love?
I can't ask for much more.
Ready? Go. Kai Hawken, you're here in the sunny paddock, you're sweating away. How's it been out on the circuit?
Good. I think it's my favourite track so far.
And what's made this your favourite circuit?
I don't know, I just sort of clicked with it.
And well, how's it been so far this season, racing in the AC40 rookie class?
Good, I've had really good rounds, and then I've had some bad rounds, but yeah, mostly good.
And so has this year been a learning year? And if it has, what have you learned so far in 2023?
Well, I just learned like racecraft and all that.
And what's been the biggest thing you've learnt about your racecraft?
Not like to be safe passing and like, well, I don't really know much else about it.
And on the mini motos, how tough is it to ride in such hot conditions?
Tough because you're hot and then like you're trying to get a fast lap in, but then you're hot, so you want to like give up, but then you can't really.
Well, I don't envy you in your leverage. Look extremely warm, and we wish you the best of luck for this weekend.
Thank you.
Daisy Bolden, how are you today? The sun is out and you're looking quite happy with yourself, so are you enjoying this weekend?
Yes, thank you.
And what's made it so enjoyable for yourself?
Well, I'm getting really used to the track and it's just making me go faster.
And well, you've been constantly improving all year, you've been getting up the order. Who's really helped you the most to get faster on the circuit?
Well, it's mostly my dad and my auntie.
And your dad, what's the best thing that he's taught you about motorbike racing?
Mostly the lines and where to brake.
And well, lines are so important at Whilton Mill. How are you finding this circuit?
Good.
And what do you enjoy so much about it? Of course, there's a lot of different corners, there's some heavy braking zones, so what's your favourite part?
Well, the top bit over there, it's nice and fast and flowy.
Yeah, it's really quick on the mini moto machine, so how are you finding this season, getting used to that sense of speed?
Yeah, I'm finding it really good and I just look forward to going on a faster bike.
Well, we look forward to watching you this weekend because it's been great racing so far this year and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
The 2023 Senior Mini Moto Champion, Josh Birkin, or should I say the Maestro, how is fame treating you?
People won't leave me alone. I'm walking down the street, sounding caps, arms. Won't tell you what I sound the other day, but it was pretty disgusting.
Well, that's somewhat lovely to hear. How are you finding this season so far? Of course, you were a pretty dominant force all the way throughout the year, so how have you found it?
It's been a bit boring. Not boring, but Reese is injured, Matt was injured, Will hasn't done every round, so it's been a bit... I kind of missed the good close racing, but it's alright, I can't complain.
And well, Matt, he's not been at FAB for a couple of rounds now, so how's his recovery going at the moment?
He's out of his cast and everything. He's coming down tonight just to watch and have a few beverages.
Well, yeah, a few refreshments, I'm sure. It's pretty normal with the Senior Mini Moto guys. But 2024, of course, you've won the championship now in the Senior Mini Moto class. Could we potentially see a Josh Birkin on a Moto Team bike next year? Could we see one or two wildcard appearances?
Have you been hearing rumours? Because I am thinking about buying a Metro kit, and me, Carl and Matt will just share, maybe do a race each on a weekend just for something a bit extra. But we'll have to see.
And is your brother Matt planning on coming back next year once he's fully recovered?
Yeah, he'll be back if his girlfriend lets him, which I'm not too sure about, but we'll see.
And well, now that you've won the championship, what's the game plan now for the final 2 rounds of the FAB-Racing series?
Just have fun and enjoy it. Just make the most of it.
Well, hopefully you make the most of it. The sun's out, so you better go out and get a tan. And well, we've seen that you shaved your head for some aerodynamic reasons, I'm sure, so hopefully you can get that tanned as well.
Thank you very much.
We are now here with one of our most talented females in the paddock that we have here at the FAB-Racing Championship, Chloe Gleeson. And Chloe, you've got the fan on for yourself, I'm sure, and the bike. So how's this weekend going so far? Because it's so warm for you guys out on track.
It's been really super hot because in these leathers, it's super hot riding on track.
And well, this season you've joined the Danny Webb GP camp. How's that experience been for you?
It's been great. It's really fun with all the team and stuff.
And what's been the biggest thing that Danny Webb himself has taught you about racing?
Never to give up, really, and just like keep pushing. Even if stuff's gone wrong, just keep trying.
And well, talking about this season, how's it went so far racing on the Metro kit?
It's going really good, thank you, because last round at Rowra I got top 10 in all the races, so I was really pleased with that.
And well, doing some practice on the Friday, have you experienced any teething issues with the bike, or is everything going as planned?
There's a couple of problems at the moment, and as you see, we're trying to get it fixed, but hopefully next session it'll be alright.
And what was the issue with the bike whenever you're out on the track?
Well, a couple of times the bike just kept bogging and it was really annoying, but hopefully it'll be okay now.
And do you know exactly what they've changed on the bike? Is it something to do with the carburetor?
I think it's either the jetting or some of the spark plugs, so hopefully that'll be okay.
Well, hopefully you can get that fixed. And well, looking into next year, have you got any plans set in stone at the moment, or have you not got anything confirmed yet?
I don't have any plans at the moment. I'm just going to stick with going to the end of the season for the 50s and see how that goes.
Well, we wish you the best of luck for the final couple of rounds in the MotoGP 50 class. It's a highly competitive class and you're certainly impressing everyone out on the track.
Yeah, it's really, there's a big grid. There's loads of them.
Thank you so much.
No problem, thank you.
We've spoken to one baker and now we speak to the other. We are here with Preston. How are you feeling looking into Whilton Mill?
Good, thanks. I'm just, hopefully I get a win and just get 3 wins in a row, really.
I think that's the dream for everybody else here at Whilton Mill. Is this a track that you like? Is it a track you're fast at?
Yeah.
That's good. It's very, very hot here at the moment, as you can tell. The last couple of rounds we've had a lot of rain coming down, so what do you prefer? Do you prefer riding in the wet or the dry?
I would say dry, because just a bit easier. And if it's on a bumpy track in the wet, it isn't really that fun.
Yeah, that is fair enough. And I'm assuming you've been out for a few sessions today already in the practice sessions. How's everything feeling? Are you feeling confident on the bike?
Yeah, just try and get race wins, really.
Yeah, so go out there Saturday, Sunday, win all 3 races, go home a happy boy. Is that the plan?
Yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you very much for talking to us, Preston, and best of luck for this weekend.
Thank you.
Jensen Ansell, the penultimate round of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship, and it could be a very, very happy weekend for you if things go well. How are you feeling coming into here at Whilton Mill?
Good.
As we mentioned, potentially a championship winning weekend for you if everything goes well and you're able to outsmart and outpace your rivals. How are you feeling on the bike? You feeling confident? You looking forward to the racing here this weekend?
Yeah.
And it's very, very hot here at the moment, which is very different from the last few rounds we've had. Of course, we've had a few rounds where it's just been torrential rain. What's different between riding in the dry and riding in the wet?
The wet's really slippery and the dry's just too hot sometimes.
Well, let's hope it's not too hot today, shall we? Is Whilton Mill a track that you enjoy?
Yeah.
So you're hopeful that it can be a very good weekend for you?
Yes.
Well, best of luck this weekend, Jensen. Thank you very much for talking to us and good luck in the championship.
Thank you.
Pit Bike Sonic, Jamie King, it is warm here at Whilton Mill. How are you feeling looking forward to round 7?
Hot, yeah, extremely hot. It's like the Sahara Desert, isn't it? It's not a gust of wind, it is, yeah. I think even when we go to Benidorm, I don't think it's this hot. So yeah, it's extremely hot. It's extremely hot. Can we cut that out?
No, gotta carry on.
Well, yeah, it's extremely hot, but it's been going okay. We're still on the magnificent borrowed engine from Sean. We're going to have a brand new one in for tomorrow. So yeah, hopefully it'll go well. But we've gradually been getting quicker all day, but do about 5 laps and I'm bloody knackered.
Yeah, well, I'm not even riding and I've had enough of it being stood here in the sun. The last few rounds been getting better and better each time you hit the track. How are you feeling coming back out on the 76 machine?
Yeah, Rara went okay with after obviously the engine blow up. It's going to be a tough weekend this weekend because we've got a few of the quick boys are back. I believe Rossi's back this weekend, so last year's champion. We've also got Reese coming back this weekend, so I think there could be about 5 or 6 of us battling for the lead. It's going to be a real close weekend.
That's great to hear. We always love to see the old faces back in the Fab paddock and some brilliant action out on track. So I guess the plan for you is just beat the heat, get out there, get some strong points.
Yeah, definitely. There's still a small chance of 3rd in the championship, so we're going to try and get 3 good results and then 3 sisters. Hopefully, you never know, it's going to be a new track for us all, so hopefully maybe try and get some wins there.
Brilliant stuff. Well, thank you, Jay. Best of luck this weekend.
No worries. Cheers.
Taylor Lawrence, welcome back. How are you feeling?
Pretty hot, mate, to be honest. Pretty boiling. But I mean, quite nice weather in it. Track's feeling nice. Yeah, just have a bit of fun with the mates again. See Jamie, and everyone's improved since I've last been here. Everyone's getting a lot quicker. Don't like it.
So maybe not the 3 straight wins that we're all used to from you then this weekend.
Well, I wouldn't say that. There just might have to be a bit of angle bushing, a bit of, sorry mate, see you in a bit, but we'll have a good fun no matter what. It'll be a good race to watch, I'm sure. Especially with Rossi coming later.
Awesome stuff, and thanks Taylor, best of luck.
Cheers mate, thank you.
Now then, at the back of the paddock on the grass, you have Nick Bennett, a smile on his face. Didn't look like you wanted to speak to us there, but it's great to hear from you. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, thanks, mate. Yeah, been good.
And well, we've seen some great racing in the senior mini motos this year. You've been consistently at the front. How have you managed it, and what's allowed you to be able to fight for the podiums?
Well, the beginning of the year didn't start off very well. Obviously, a few offs, bike not really set up very well. But obviously, I've worked on a bit of fitness and worked on the bike, and it all seems to be coming together at the end of it. So yeah, it's been pretty good.
And you mentioned fitness there. How much training goes into riding a senior mini motorbike? Because, well, you're pretty tall for one of these mini motos.
Oh yeah, you do have to be pretty flexible. I think my job helps as well. I have a manual job, so and I've been doing a lot of push biking. So yeah, that's helped a lot.
So whenever you go to train for them, is it just general strength and stamina, or do you focus a lot on flexibility?
More on my fitness, really. Yeah, I mean, the bike helps with definitely a lot with my legs. So, yeah.
And we're speaking to Josh Birkin earlier on today, of course, crowned the 2023 Senior Mini Moto Champion, and he's pretty buzzing about it. So, going into next season, first of all, are you planning on staying in the Senior Mini Moto class?
Yeah, definitely for another year.
And how do you think you can take it to the likes of Josh Birkin, or even his brother Matt or Will Howarth next year, whenever hopefully we see them make a return?
Well, yeah, I'm hoping to try and keep with them at least, where I've managed to get to so far. So, yeah, that would be good if I can.
And Josh is racing this weekend, obviously, crowned the champion now. Obviously, all the pressure is off his back. Do you think you can keep up with him this weekend? How much chance do you think you have?
I'm hoping I have a big chance of staying with him. I'm hoping.
And have you had a chance to go out on the bike yet during the practice sessions?
Yeah, I've been out on it twice today, which I've done some good times on, so that's why I've stayed off for the rest of the day, and I'm just going to wait until tomorrow. So yeah.
And how's your stamina and your fitness helped you today? Of course, beautiful conditions, but whenever you're in warm leathers, a helmet on, and you're buzzing about on a bike that's very, very small, how is that for you, and how much does the fitness help?
I mean, with the weather the way it is, I mean, you're just absolutely soaking by the time you come in. And, I only stayed out there for like probably 5-6 laps on the last time I was out. So, yeah, it does get to you, and it will get to me.
Well, it's more than 5 or 6 laps for the race tomorrow. It's going to be even hotter. Hopefully, we can see you at the front like you usually are, and best of luck, Nick.
Thanks a lot, and I hope it continues, yeah.
On the road to MotoGP.
Hot town, summer in the city, back of my neck getting dirt and gritty.
FAB-Racing Mini Bikes British Championship, live from Whilton Mill.
Hello and welcome. It's for Saturday's coverage of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. We're here in Whilton Mill where the sun is out. And well, Ross, it's been a great weekend so far. Plenty of practice and qualifying has been completed, and racing is just moments away. And of course, we'll be bringing you through today's action. Myself, Lewis Ray, and Ross McIntyre once again. And the first race of the day was going to be the AC40 rookie class. And well, Ross, it's a massive crowd, 25 bikes. And I don't know about you, but it's going to be an exciting race because, well, as you can see, the paddock is absolutely jam-packed.
It is indeed. The sun is beaming down here at Whilton Mill. The temperature's in the low 30 degrees Celsius. It is hot and the racing is going to be intense. Hello and welcome to the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship, the penultimate round of the championship here at Whilton Mill, or wherever you are watching around the world. We are just waiting. We are moments away from the AC40 Rookies Championship. If you've just tuned in, hello and welcome. You have not missed any of the action. Make sure that you follow and share the stream all over your social medias to get the whole world watching these young, up-and-coming British motorcycle stars. It's a real pleasure to be bringing you all of the action today from Whilton Mill, and you can see here, despite the heat and the sun beaming down, the crowd is roaring. The whole paddock getting ready for the first race of the weekend with the AC40 Rookies class. You can just see them there in the pit lane. They are getting ready to make their way out onto the grid for the first race of the weekend, Lewis. And as we said, it is hot there this weekend. It's going to be a tough race for these guys out there, just trying to beat the heat, trying to beat the fatigue. But boy, oh boy, here at Whilton Mill, it always deliver an absolute cracker. We're excited.
We're definitely excited. Even after yesterday, there was plenty of fatigue from riders, mechanics, everyone here at Whilton Mill. It's extremely hot. Conditions are getting close and just above 30 degrees at the moment, and that's air temperature, not to mention the track temperature at the moment, which is going to be through the roof. And going to be through the roof for these riders, which are already umbrellas actually, so the parents, an extra job for them this weekend, trying to keep themselves and of course their rider cool. And some of the parents already at the side of the grid waiting for action to get underway, and this is going to be a completely new challenge for these riders, and well, especially these guys. They're rookies this season, so they're pretty inexperienced in hot conditions, so this is going to be so tricky for their mentality. But if this is the first ever time that you've managed to tune in to the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship, first of all, hello and welcome. The AC40 Rookies are just moments away, and of course, rookies in the class means rookie riders. These guys are just starting their racing career at the moment. It's the slowest class we have here, but it's always one of the biggest and some of the best racing. Jensen Ansel, he currently leads the championship in this class, and currently 8 race wins to his name. And the last round at Rowra for the AC40 Rookies was extremely tricky with track conditions. It was half wet, half dry, and actually it was the first time this season that Jensen Ansel was off the podium.
It was indeed. Jensen Ansel mathematically can win the championship here this weekend. As you said, Lewis, a 63-point gap. The riders making their way to the grid. They're getting waved around. So they will go around once. They will go down the short circuit on a little cut through, and then they will make their way back to the grid before the green flag formation lap, and then of course we will go racing. But as you said, Lewis, last time out, Jensen Ansel just couldn't quite make it work at round 6 at Rowra. The first time all season that he has found himself off of the podium positions, and not really the most ideal time for that to be happening as well, because currently P2 in the championship, Mason Fedrick he's got all the momentum behind him at the moment. And once again, Mason Fedrick starts from pole. Jensen Ansel can only start from 4th at this round. And of course, the qualifying positions, once decided, it is the same qualifying, the same grid spot for all 3 races. So it is advantage Mason Fedrick. So while mathematically Jensen Ansel can clinch the championship this weekend, if you leave Whilton Mill with 75 points advantage over your closest rival, then you are crowned the champion of your class. But we're going to have to see and wait and see what is going to happen as the riders make their way onto the grid, and it should be a formation lap coming up next.
A formation lap should be coming up. The riders might be taking the cut through the circuit to shorten the lap on their sighting lap, and then they should have a formation lap before we get underway. So the parents waiting for these guys on the grid, and some of the helpers and some of the coaches actually. A lot of these rookie riders now getting coaches to help them with the mentality and to help them with their racecraft early on. And for example, the Harris family, Holly Harris, Ian Harris, doing a great job at the moment, and Sarah Harris actually on the grid as well on the left hand side of your screen. But Lee Klaus at the front of the grid, she has a red flag on her at the moment, and she'll tell everyone when it's time to clear off the grid, and then hopefully we can get underway. But these rookie riders, they tend to have a bit more time on the grid to have a quick conversation, a quick chat about what their race plan is. But now everyone clearing off the grid, where hopefully we can get ready for the first race of the weekend here at Whilton Mill.
We can indeed. The flag marshal Lee Clowes ready to set the riders off on their way, and it's going to be a formation green flag lap, so it will be going one more time round before we get racing. And the grid of 25 riders makes their way on the first formation lap of the weekend around here at the Whilton Mill Kart Racing Club. Mason Fedrick starts from the pole position with Max Johnson alongside him in P2. Kai Hawken is 3rd with Jensen Ansel, championship leader, only managing a P4 position. Caelan Ratcliffe is 5th with Henry Brody alongside him. Arthur Rich starts in P7 with Jensen Cedras alongside. Sammy Whitaker is in P9 with Daisy Polden rounding out the top 10. Tommy Williams starts 11th with Austin Dilks alongside. Villeneuve is 13th with James Rich in P14, while the 8th row of the grid is made up of Ethan Bayliss and Emerson Oakley. Freddie Taylor is in P17 with Finley Stiles P18. James Dermott is P19. He had a good showing last time out at Rara, with Reed Sachs will be rounding out the top 20. Levison Usher in P21 with Oliver Wilson in P22. And then Tyler Schiraldi, Daisy Grayson and Casey Reeson rounding out our 25 bike group, with a fair amount of new riders here for the first time at FAB Racing this weekend as well. So that is great to see. An absolutely ram-packed rookies grid, and the action is going to be brilliant as always in FAB Racing. The riders now just making their way onto the grid, as you see, for the first race of the weekend, and the whole eyes of the paddock will be on this, because this is the first chance they can truly gauge what's the conditions like when you're racing, how the tyres going to hold up, how can you beat the heat. Again, it is so warm here at Whilton Mill. It's anybody's guess what's going to happen, Lewis.
Anyone's guess. 1/10 of a second separated Mason Frederick and Max Johnson in qualifying. Who's going to be the best in the race? Jensen Ansel, the championship leader. He's going to have to start from 4th on the second row of the grid. So, will he take it steady this opening first couple of laps, or will he push on and try to get the best result and try and take the race lead? But Lee Clowes at the front points to the lights. The lights will switch on, and then we will go racing for race 1. And it's Mason Frederick who gets the best start and now leads the way. But Jensen Ansel straight away, 3rd position for him, trying to fight on Max Johnson to claim 2nd position. But straight away at the front, the number 5, Mason Frederick, converts his pole position into a race lead. So far, all the rookies through cleanly, but now through the flip-flop from the right to the left and then back over to the right. It's such a quick part of the circuit, and Jensen Ansel is trying to take full advantage of that down the inside there. Wow, a perfect move from Jensen Ansel through Max Johnson, but now Max Johnson fighting back for 2nd position. He manages to get through round the outside on the 1-4-1 machine. But Mason Frederick, he leads the way by a fine fashion. He has a nice comfortable margin, but the championship leader, he's charging behind.
He is indeed. The perfect start there for Jensen Ansel. If only he could have gone one better, that would have made this race one so much easier for him, because he has the man with all the momentum behind him in the championship at the moment. Mason Frederick will lead lap 1 here at Whilton Mill, the penultimate round of the FAB Racing Minibike British Championship. That being said, Jensen Ansel, P3, was the fastest lap on that opening lap with a 1:03.258. Now we get to see how the lap times are with the riders unleashed to full pace. Mason Frederick had a gap of 7.5 tenths of a second at the line last time by. He is really trying to bolt away, but you can see already the gaps beginning to close up. Max Johnson has reeled him in ever so slightly, even with that pressure on him from the 22, the championship leader of Jensen Ansel, who just runs a little bit wide there coming out of Ashby Corner, and he's going to have to try, and he's going to try dive down the inside anyway to Chapman. Maybe that is a very bold move if he has a go there. Just got a great run coming out of Parker, but these top 3 suddenly absolutely inseparable. Mason Frederick storming opening lap, and suddenly the 2 behind him, Max Johnson, has picked up the pace, and so has Jensen Ansel, who is looking for a way through again. He could clinch the championship this weekend with some good results. We'll see the times as they come to the line now. It's still Frederick that leads from Johnson from Ansel. Johnson the fastest last time round, and he took 4/10 of a second out of the race. And running wide. There goes Max Johnson, the front of the bike, chattering away. Amazing job to stay on both wheels, but he will have to cede the position to Jensen Ansel for the time being. But what a great save from the man now in P3, Max Johnson.
Incredibly close to the lap record, just 4/10 of a second away from the lap record in the rookie class, which was set by Samuel Munson in 2018. But Jensen Ansel, he's a man on the move right now on the 22 machine. He's had an incredibly strong season so far. He's been incredibly consistent. He had a little crash at Rowra actually, but so did Mason Frederick at the exact same time, and now he looks trying to find a way past Mason Frederick round the inside. Can he make it work? No, he cannot, and now they're hitting back markers already. So Mason Frederick and Jensen Ansel, this is where they have to use their head, or will Max Johnson in 3rd place be able to sit there and pick up the pieces when it all goes wrong? But they come across the line this time around. 3/10 of a second was the gap, now just 1/10 of a second. is the front two. And now Jenson Ansel round the outside. He goes now on the 22. Now will Mason Frederick know he's there. Max Johnson's also trying to get through. Down the inside he goes now on the 141 machine. Both sides of a back marker there. Max Johnson, he manages to get past briefly as Jenson Ansel reclaims that second position. So these front three right now are completely inseparable.
Wow. What a move up into Christmas corner there from the championship leader, Jenson Ansel, after running wide at Crook corner. Round the outside of the back marker and round the outside of Max Johnson as well. Superb stuff from the 22, but it is still the 5 of Mason Frederick who leads, but for how much longer? Because Jenson Ansel can smell blood in front of him, but just behind him as well. Max Johnson closing in. He has a look to the inside, but has to back out of the move. Then once again, Jenson Ansel has a look to the inside, but also has to back out to the move. There's back markers everywhere, and as always, as we always say, back markers cause chaos. And there you see race leader Mason Frederick dropping down into P3 after being held up by a back marker at the final corner. Oh, what a shame for Mason Frederick there, but there's still 4 laps to go. Anything can happen. Once again, the two leaders going either side of a back marker on the run up to Christmas corner, the trickiest corner on the circuit. Mason Frederick to the inside. Was there contact there? Maybe. No, there wasn't. That is unbelievable. So the top 3 once again all together with 4 laps left to run.
4 laps remaining. It's not over yet for Mason Frederick, who sits in 3rd position. Jenson Ansel, though, he's hit the front. What can he do? Can he escape? Because it looks like Max Johnson was the rider that was able to keep with his pace. Yellow flags are out in this sector, but I can't see anyone who's down at the moment. But now they power it out through, and Jenson Ansel continues to lead the way. He managed to have a free 10th of a second gap, but certainly not that now, as Max Johnson looked down the inside on the 4-1 machine. But now they power it out through towards pit end, the final corner of this circuit. You really need to carry the momentum onto the straight. It's such a tricky final sector. Mason Frederick, he's caught up, and can he make a move? No, he cannot. He's back out of that. And Max Johnson, he looks incredible into turn 1 at the moment, but Caelan Ratcliffe, currently in 4th place, he leads the way in that group as Max Johnson looks down the inside for the lead of the race. He backs out of it though, but Caelan Ratcliffe, he's ahead of Kai Hawkin at the moment. So those riders continuing to battle it out, like we've seen them do pretty much all season. But Henry Brodie as well, near the top 5. We were speaking to him yesterday. He said that he's just consistently been building throughout the year, and this has allowed him to do that. But now Jenson Ansel, he's at the front of this race, and he's got back markers to deal with at the moment. Can he get through cleanly? It looks like he will, but Mason Frederick, he could be the one that's going to get held up.
In such a crucial time for the championship this weekend, and back markers could be the story of the day. They're 3 wide on the run into the opening of the boot section, and somehow they don't come together, and somehow they're still in the same order. Unbelievable stuff. We're heading on to the penultimate lap of the race now. It's still Ansel from Johnson from Frederick, your top 3, covered by less than half a second. Unbelievable scenes here at Whilton Mill in the opening race for the AC40 Rookies class. These guys, this is their first step into motorcycle racing, and they are delivering us some fantastic racing action. More back markers up ahead for the race leaders. These top 3 completely inseparable. Jenson Ansel able to squeeze through. Looks like Max Johnson wasn't quite able to, but Mason Frederick went the wrong way around, coming through the the left-hander at the kink rather, and so wasn't able to capitalise that time by. It's still championship leader though, Jenson Ansel on the 22 who leads. Back markers everywhere you look. Again, a 25 bike grid here in the AC40 Rookies, and when some of these guys, this is their first time racing a mini moto, so of course, as we see there, is that a problem? Is that a problem there for Max Johnson? I think it was, because through goes Mason Frederick up into P2, a shake of the head for the 141. Problems for Max Johnson. He sticks a hand up. I think there is something not right with that motorbike as we start the final lap of the race.
The bike looks to have no power, and Max Johnson, he's absolutely livid on the last lap of the race. He had pace all the way throughout, and can Caelan Ratcliffe potentially even take advantage of that and get onto the podium? But Jenson Ansel, he leads the way in this final lap on the 22. Mason Frederick still chasing behind him. Well, Frederick, he's been quite unlucky this race with the back markers. Ansel, he's been very, there's a lot of experience getting through back markers so far this year, and he's used that to his advantage. Whilton Mill, it's such a tricky circuit. It's a circuit which really leads one into another, but Max Johnson, he had the fastest lap of the race, so 1 minute 1.021 a couple of laps ago before his issues started. But these two still battling out, and Mason Frederick will get down the inside on the last lap of the race. Can he make it work? He pushes it to the grass, and Frederick, takes the race lead with just one corner remaining. The number 5 comes down the pit bend now. Jansel, it's going to be a race to the line, and Mason Frederick takes the race win in the opening race of the weekend for the AC40 rookie class. Second position was Jensen Ansel, and third position looks to be Caelan Ratcliffe. So where is Max Johnson? But Mason Frederick, you have to say, worked it perfectly there, left it until the final sector, and he took the race win on the number 5, and he's absolutely delighted.
What a statement from Mason Frederick in the championship there. Pops a wheelie, a wave to the camera. You can see how much this one means to him when it looked like Jensen Ansel was once again going to extend his championship lead in a round where he could wrap up the championship. Mason Frederick says no with only a handful of corners remaining after all that trouble with the back markers. He takes the win with the fastest lap and the lap record on the final lap as well. A 1 minute dead .581. That is a tenth faster than Samuel Munson's lap record set in 2018. So just the cherry on top there for Mason Frederick. Race win in the final corners and the lap record in the process. The number 5 machine kicking off his weekend with a bang. Absolute brilliant action here in race 1 of the AC40 rookies, but it was Mason Frederick who took the victory with Jensen Ansel, championship leader in P2. Caelan Ratcliffe rounded out the podium with Kai Hawken in P4. Henry Brody was 5th with Arthur Rich in 7th. Jensen Cedras was 8th, or 7th rather. Samuel Whisker was 8th. Daisy Polden 9th, and Tommy Williams rounding out the top 10. James Rich was in P11 with Nelly Nuth in 12th. Finley Stars was 13th with Emerson Oakley 14th. Freddie Taylor in P15 with Reed Saxelby 16. Austin Dilk 17. James Dermott 18. And then it's Levison Usher, Tyler Sheraldi, Oliver Wilson, Daisy Grayson and Casey Reeson rounding out our grid. And unfortunately we lost Ethan Bayliss and Max Johnson as well, classified as a DNF after running so well all race long. But of course, 2 more races left to come this weekend at the scorching Whilton Mill. Let's see who's going to take control of the championship fight. Up next, it is race 1 of the LC40 Elites class. And while the championship may be done and dusted with Byron Johnson wrapping it up last time at Rara, that isn't to say that it's not going to be an exciting one, because the pressure is now off all of those riders who are in that championship fight. They can just go out there and compete for glory and have fun. And when you've got temperatures as high as this, the track running as high as this, it could be anybody's guess as to who's coming out on top. These riders, they've got to deal with the boiling track temperature. They've got to deal with the fatigue that comes with it, and not just from this race. They've got to last for 2 more races alongside it as well. It's going to be a long weekend for them, but it's going to be a fun weekend to watch.
Going to be a fun weekend to watch with 12 riders on the LC40 Elite grid. As you mentioned, Byron Johnson already wrapping up the championship in one of the most dramatic fashions I think we could have seen, of course, with him crashing at Rowra. And then Taylor Tomlinson, his rival from last season in the AC40 rookies, he had issues, and then he dropped one position on the last lap, and that one position was enough to decide the championship. Harrison Day there returning this round. He's going to be one to watch. Can we see Harrison Day repeat his success from earlier on in the season? But it's going to be an exciting one with these guys, with Harrison Day being the rider. It's going to be on pole position. So can he convert it into a race win? We've seen once Byron Johnson has someone to beat, he can be incredibly consistent. But with the championship now being decided, he might just be able to push on and just try and go for that lap record.
Maybe. I mean, the conditions are primed for the lap record. As we've seen already, some lap records tumbling today. We've seen riders running consistently faster than the lap records in practice and qualifying. Of course, those laps don't count, but we've seen them anyway on the timing board, so we know it's possible. It's so warm out there. The track temperature must be boiling, but it's obviously not at the point where it's too hot, where you start to lose time. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen. Because Byron Johnson, he's got nothing to lose if he just wants to hang back and push for that lap record, or he just wants to compete for glory. We'll just have to wait and see. But as they make their way on their green flag lap, it is Harrison Day who starts on the pole position with your champion Byron Johnson alongside him. Lewis Hull starts in P3 with Taylor Tomlinson alongside in the 77 machine. Bradley Curtis is in P5 with Matthew Thomas alongside him, with Sebastian Goslavsky and Oliver Hall making up the fourth row of the grid. Josh Perkins and Nicholas Dunwoody round out the top 10, with Ollie Sims and Archie Hooper the final two riders on a 12-bike grid in the LC40 Elites. A good showing here for the LC40 Elites. Whilton is always a popular track, lots and lots of riders always showing up here, and that is great to see. And as we get ready to go racing for race one of the LC40 Elites, what happens? Does Byron Johnson just go all-out attack for that lap record? Does he hang back and, maybe try and have some battles? Does someone take the battle for him? Now the pressure is off in the championship. It's going to be anybody's guess as the riders make their way to the grid.
Riders coming to the grids, and it's going to be Harrison Day, the man on pole position, by just a couple thousandths of a second. It's going to be interesting. 0.08 of a second separates the two riders on the front row. Byron Johnson, I think we're going to see something special. We could see one of his performances of the season, but Harrison Day, he's going to want to put a stop to that. Lee Klaus shall point to the lights, and the lights will appear on, and then we will go racing. For race when the lights are on and the lights are off, and we go racing. And Byron Johnson, a very, very slow start there from the 37 machine. So Byron Johnson dropping all the way down to the back of the pack almost, and now behind Bradley Curtis and Lewis Hull. Harrison Day now leads the way of the race, but at 37 he's already trying to cut through the pack. He takes four riders in one corner there. So Byron Johnson, an incredible move there from him, and now chasing Taylor Tomlinson for second place. So Byron Johnson, he's definitely doing damage limitation at the moment, because he's going to see at the front it's Harrison Day who leads the way.
Harrison Day with a great start. Taylor Tomlinson as well with a fantastic start, launching his way forward from fourth on the grid. But Byron Johnson from P2 just unable to get away in the way that he wants to. A disappointing beginning to the weekend for the new champion. But of course he's going to try and find his way back through. There we see that's Lewis Hull and Bradley Curtis having a bit of a ding-dong as they head through the boot section, with Lewis Hull coming out on top as we finish lap 1. It's the 15 of Harrison Day, followed by the 77 of Taylor Tomlinson, and then Byron Johnson, your champion on the number 37 in P3. That's your top three for the time being. Taylor Tomlinson was fastest on that opening lap. Here comes Byron Johnson. Look at the speed that he's got up the hill coming into Christmas Corner. He takes P2 with a textbook manoeuvre on the brakes up the inside. But just look at the speed that boy carries up the hill. It is almost unreal how fast or how much drive that he gets off of the corner. Byron Johnson into P2. Now he can set his eyes on Harrison Day in the lead of the race. We've got 8 laps left to go here in the LC40 Elites Race 1, and anything can happen as there's battles further down the pack. That is Matthew Thomas fighting with Oliver Hall. They've been changing positions every few corners, and just behind them as well, Josh Perkins and Sebastian Goslavsky giving it a goes once again. Oliver Hall to the inside on the 03, but he's forced to sit the bike up as Matthew Thomas just sweeps in around the outside and shuts the door on the number 47 machine. We've now got about 7 laps left to run as Harrison Day from Byron Johnson, from Taylor Tomlinson in P3. Byron Johnson fastest lap of the race, that time of 55.664. That is just over a second off of the lap record, so these guys maybe not running to lap record pace. There's Oliver Hall to the inside of Matthew Thomas, and up the inside he goes through Christmas Corner. Lovely stuff from the number 3.
A little bit wide there through the chicane for Oliver Hall, but he still is ahead of Matthew Thomas. These guys are battling for 6th position, and well, it's been a very, very impressive season for Lewis Hull, who's now ahead of Taylor Thompson. But at the moment we have Matthew Thomas, who's still able to fight as Byron Johnson has an issue. Byron Johnson on the 37 has an issue with his motorcycle. He's absolutely distraught with that one. He's got pulled to the side of the circuit, and can he get restarted, or is this a race-ending issue? It seems like it is. He's pulling into the pits, and the bike is still running at the moment. So Byron Johnson, he's going back into the pit lane, and he will retire from the race. Is this potentially what we're going to see? He's pointing down at his right handlebar, maybe a throttle or a brake issue. We've seen at the start of the race he had an issue with his race start. I didn't know if that was maybe he was looking at the wrong set of lights, or if it was an issue with his bike, and now we see there was a mechanical issue somewhere in there, and now he is retired.
Yeah, big shame there for your champion Byron Johnson, out of race 1 unless he's able to make it back onto the circuit. But again, it could also just be the heat, Lewis. We've seen lots and lots of bikes across the weekend already just having problem after problem. They're just unable to deal with this temperature. They're not used to being, ragged around at the ragged edge on this high temperatures. Here we see Lewis Hull. That is Lewis Hull fighting with Taylor Tomlinson. Lewis Hull actually sliding through to get up into second. So Taylor Tomlinson on the 77 dropping back just a little bit. There'll be 5 laps left to go. Harrison Day trying to disappear into the distance as these two fight it out. Half a second separating them at the line. But as I was saying, it's just so warm up there. Unfortunately, these mini bikes, they're just not used to racing in this heat, and I think that maybe what has happened to Byron Johnson. But we will just have to wait and see as we continue to follow this battle between Hull and Tomlinson, the 41 versus the 77. Lewis Hull, of course, without a doubt the tallest rider on this LT40 Elite Grid. He's just so much bigger than everybody else. We talk about it every single time he's on camera, because it is a bit of a disadvantage when you're on bikes this small. And next year we do believe he is planning to move up onto the Mini GP machinery. The Metrokit Mini GP50 Championship is, I believe, his goal for next season. As we see Matthew Thomas fighting with Oliver Hall. Matthew Thomas able to get past Oliver Hall on this previous lap. These two having a fantastic battle so far this race. There'll be 4 laps left to go. It is still Harrison Day from Lewis Hull, from Taylor Tomlinson, your top 3. But here is the battle that's been really interesting for P5. Thomas versus Hall. They have been changing places every few corners and putting on a right display for all the fans watching.
A great display from these riders. You can see why this is the premier class of mini motor racing in the UK. Ahead of them, though, is Bradley Curtis, who we've seen had some great rides in the wet conditions. It looks like we're not going to get any rain, at least today. Potentially some thunderstorms later on tomorrow, but great weather conditions and great racing on track at the moment. Oliver Hall, 6th position, and you can just see 8 seconds away from Harrison Day, so it proves how hard he's pushing at the front. A 56.2. These riders with Matthew Thomas last time around did a 56.9. His personal best of the race, but Oliver Hall looks like he's able to get the better of him this time around. Got the fastest lap out of the 2 riders and is definitely catching the 03, not allowing the 47 to escape from his clutches. Just behind, though, is Josh Perkins. He's had a great weekend so far in qualifying. Josh Perkins qualified all the way down in 9th place, so be able to fight here with the likes of Matthew Thomas and Oliver Hall. Is extremely impressive as Oliver Hall makes an impressive move down the inside. He's going to get the cutback, though, from Matthew Thomas, and these 2 riders continuing to battle on.
They're going to take it all the way to the line, aren't we? As once again Oliver Hall has a look to the inside, just wasn't quite able to make the move. That time round, Matthew Thomas wise to the approach and the attack of the number 3 machine behind him. But these guys, they've just been trading places almost every single corner we see, and it's going to be a battle that goes down to the absolute wire. It's currently the 47 of Matthew Thomas with the advantage and holding on to that 5th place position. But Oliver Hall, we know, is a very talented rider. Of course, the 2021 AC40 Rookies champion on that number 03 machine, but he's going to try everything he can to try and slide through. It is still Byron Johnson with the fastest lap, despite having the DNF with a 55.684. Harrison Day's best lap at 56.2, but it's been enough to gain him a lead of almost 3 seconds over the last few laps, and that is probably aided by these two still fighting for 2nd place, Lewis Hull and Taylor Tomlinson, not giving each other an inch out there on circuit. But it is currently advantage Lewis Hull with about 1.5 laps left to run. But Taylor Tomlinson, and again, another fantastic rider, last year's AC40 Rookies champion. He knows how to bring it home and bring home some strong points, and he is very, very smart when he races as well. Where to attack, where to defend. But Lewis Hull in front, of course, you can't discredit him. Another fantastic rider. This LC40 Elite Grid just full of brilliant young talents. That's Matthew Thomas with a problem. Matthew Thomas pulls over to the side on the number 47. He's a seed in his battle with Oliver Hall, as it looks like a bent handlebar there. So I think Matthew Thomas may have had an off, and that is a big shame for him. We have started the final lap of the race. He gets going once again, but Harrison Day in the lead has only got about half the racetrack left to go, and he could cruise home on a Saturday afternoon ride for the ages with the sun beaming down from the heavens. It's almost been a bit easy for Harrison Day. It's clear track in front, clear track behind, perfection.
Harrison Day, he's made it look easy on the circuit, but he's had to push hard for this result. He qualified in pole position by just 0.08 of a second, and now look at him go. 2 corners remain of this Whilton Mill racetrack. And the number 15, Harrison Day, it looks like once again he's going to be at the top step of the podium on the LC40 Elite class. He crosses the line and takes the checker flag, and Lewis Hull still managing to hold off Taylor Tomlinson for that all-important second position. Bradley Curtis ahead of Overhaul at the line, who had an incredible last couple of laps. But Harrison Day, what a great ride, a 56 dead on his final lap, taking his personal best lap of the race, still 4 tenths away from Byron Johnson's fastest lap of the race. So it's showing with race 2 and race 3 still to come up that it's certainly going to be a battle for the race lead, but you can't take anything away from him because it's so strong, so consistent and so confident.
Yeah, what a great ride there from Harrison Day. Just didn't put a wheel wrong, did he? Lewis Hull and Taylor Tomlinson also with a great battle. Matthew Thomas and Oliver Hall as well. Unfortunately, with Matthew Thomas's little tumble there at the end, we got robbed of a battle right to the wire, but those guys were just all riding out of their skins. Superb action there in race 1 of the LC40 Elites, and Harrison Day taking a victory in some style. 3.2 seconds ahead of everybody else come the end of the race. But it is the man on the number 15 machine who took his personal best on the final lap of the race as well. It's Harrison Day who wins in race 1 with Lewis Hull in P2 and Taylor Tomlinson rounding out the podium places. Bradley Curtis is number 4 with Oliver Hall in P5. Josh Perkins is P6 with Sebastian Goslavsky in P7. Nicholas Dunwoody was P8 with Ollie Sims in P9. Matthew Thomas managed to get back on the bike and finish in P10, and Archie Hooper in P11 with Byron Johnson an unfortunate DNF for mechanical issues. A real shame there for the champion, but of course there's still 2 more races for him to get back out there and do his thing. Still race 2s and race 3s to come on Sunday morning and afternoon, so don't go anywhere, there's plenty more action to come.
Next up is the senior mini moto class. It's the first race of the weekend for these guys, and Josh Birkin, he's already wrapped up a championship, but this weekend he's got steep competition. Will Howarth making his return to the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. Holly Harris also racing this weekend in the senior mini moto class. We spoke briefly to Nick Bennett and of course the champion Josh Birkin just moments ago, and it looks like they're feeling confident for this one. Josh Birkin though in this one will be on pole position. He's going to be very, very confident, but Will Howarth, second position there from him. He's going to have steep competition. Keaton Payne though, one of the best qualifyings he's had all season, a 4th place start for him, and we have a great grid this time around, 16 bikes, and it's going to be a great one. Matt Birkin's still not made a return. It doesn't sound like he's going to be returning next season, this season, and next year it's going to be all up in the air, so hopefully we can see Matt back on the bike. And actually Matt Birkin, just speaking about him, he's walked into the commentary box, and well, Matt, how are you and your brother starting on pole position for the senior mini moto class?
Yeah, I'm great. It's good to be here.
Well, Josh Birkin on pole position, and Will Howarth is going to be alongside him. And well, Matt, any chance of you getting back on the bike?
Next year. Don't think I'm allowed this year.
100% chance next year?
100% I'll be back next year.
Well, at the moment, still grounded after your injury, and obviously you don't want to get injured anytime soon.
No, my missus won't let me race.
Yeah.
Banned me.
Well, at the moment, Josh Birkin, can he convert a pole position into a race win?
The maestro.
The maestro, as he's been calling himself since his championship victory at Rowra. But now, one warm-up lap for these guys. And it's been incredibly quick pace throughout the whole weekend and in qualifying. Near perfect conditions for racing. I'm sure they'll be sweating in their levers in this one. It's an 8-lap race this time around for the senior mini moto class, with, of course, Josh Birkin, the championship winner of 2023. He'll be on pole position with Will Howarth alongside him. On the second row of the grid, we have Nick Bennett and Keaton Payne, with David Maya and Chris Yeomans in 5th and 6th position. Mark Payne and Holly Harris, who makes a return for the senior mini moto class. It will be starting 7th and 8th, with Callum White and Lamar Morgan on the 5th row. Gary Eldrig and Ross Michael will be in 11th and 12th, with Isaac Greenstreet and Jerome Richards in 13th and 14th. And on the final row of the grid, we have Rob Gentry and Steve Jones. So it's going to be an interesting race, Matt. And can your brother convert a race win into pole position, well, without, of course, being too biased?
I'm not too sure, to be honest, because Will's back now. So hopefully Josh can actually have a race.
3/10 of a second that was in qualifying. So Josh Birkin's still got a somewhat comfortable margin, but of course in the race we've seen Will Howarth. He's able to do magical things.
Yeah, he's very good off the starts as well, and Josh is not so good.
Well, can Josh get the start that he's needing? He has 15 riders that are ready for racing here for the first race of the weekend for the senior mini moto class. Lee Klaus at the start of the grid once again, and they point to the lights. We'll wait for the lights to go on, and they go on now, and we go racing for the first time of the weekend for the senior mini moto class. It's Will Howarth who leads the way into turn 1 with Nick Bennett in second place. So Josh Birkin dropping all the way down to third place. How fast can he make up them positions, or is he going to allow the likes of Will Howarth to be able to escape? Chris Yeomans battling with Holly Harris further down the field, but Nick Bennett third position now. So Josh Birkin has got through, and Will Howarth, he leads the way. So as you said, Matt, Josh Birkin, he's not the best starter in the world, and now he dropped down to third at the start, up to second now, and he has some work to do.
Yeah, I think he'll catch him. Hopefully Nick can stay with him as well, but I hope he don't crash, because I've just had to cut his pulse cord off because it wouldn't wind back in.
Well, the Birkin brothers definitely push on the circuit. Both Josh and yourself, Matthews, are one of the teams that definitely push on to the limit and then some. And now in second position, Josh Birkin, he's having to push early on in this race from the 96. And Will Howarth, of course, missed the past couple of rounds, so he's straight back in with a bang. But Callum White as well, having a battle with Lamar Morgan. And you see them filtering through the final corner of this circuit of Pitts Bend, and now we see the battle for fourth position with David Myatt leading the way from Keaton Payne and Chris Yeomans, who has a very unique riding style on the straight, to say the least.
Who, Keaton?
Yeah,
he's very small as well. Like Chris is very tall, but the taller rider, you do struggle a lot. You tend to have a little bit more corner speed, but down the straight they do just seem to pull away from you.
Doing everything to try and get the best aerodynamic as possible on these senior mini motorbikes, and actually watching these guys every single round, you see how tricky it looks on the camera. At least, is it as difficult when you're actually on board it?
No, to sit on one, it's alien, but as soon as you're riding one, it's pretty easy, to be fair, and you do feel like you got a lot of room. They look small, but when you're riding one, they do seem quite big.
Well, Holly Harris currently in 7th position, racing in the British Junior Supersport this season on board the FHO team after moving from the British Talent Cup. But at the front, we have Josh Birkin, who's still trying to catch Will Howarth. 4/10 of a second at the line, a 57.1. And well, the lap record around this circuit for the senior mini moto class was set by Will Howarth with a 55.4. And well, this weekend, with the track conditions being so good, do you think there's any chance we'll see that kind of time?
Never again. It's far too bumpy now. It is a very bumpy track. And when that lap time was set, the last curve wasn't raised, so you used to be able to cut it. But now it's tricky to get in a 55.
A tricky track for these riders, and now the battle's still continuing for fourth position with these guys. And well, it's been an impressive race so far from Will Howarth, who is still leads by 4/10 of a second. It's definitely not gone the way some may have thought, as the battle for, well, Chris Yeomans just ahead of Holly Harris is still continuing. Holly Harris, obviously one of the slightly smaller riders in height in this class. How much advantage does that actually give her on the circuit?
A lot down the straight. It's so hard to keep with them. You have to try so much to carry the speed through the corners, as they will just get away. But it does get tiring.
Yeah, you can see now already Holly Harris on the back of Chris Yeomans, and now the leaders still continuing on. 3/10 of a second still between the two of them. So Josh Birkin is able to get up to Will Howarth, but he's not been able to find any way through. As there's 1-1-2 of Keaton Payne. That rounds out the top 5 for these guys. As there is the race leaders, and there is Josh Birkin trying to find the way through on Will Howarth. So Will Howarth, he continues to lead the way, but 5 laps remaining with 2 corners left of this lap. So 4 laps remaining. Just a couple of moments' time. Can he do anything about it?
Hope not. I hope Will get rid of his winning streak.
Well, Josh, he said at the start of the weekend that he was getting kind of bored on the motorcycle. He missed these good battles, and now he's certainly got a battle at the moment as Josh Birkin continues to look away through. Can he make a move down the inside here? He's taking a slightly more sweeping line, trying to carry more corner speed with on the number 2 machine, as he's definitely catching now. And number 1 plate actually put on for this weekend, so celebrating is the maestro.
Yeah, loves it. He loves his number 1.
He's loving this championship. He's loving the fame from winning the senior mini moto class.
Can't get enough of it.
Yeah, well, he definitely can't get enough of looking at Will Harrop's back wheel at the moment because he's unable to make a way through. And if these guys continue to battle and continue almost to hold each other up ever so slightly, Nick Bennett could potentially be in the order for the race win. But currently, Will Harrop leading the way. But the fastest lap of the race belongs to Josh Birkin, a 57.1 a couple of laps ago. And then we come across the line. Will there be any changes in that now? It doesn't look like it, at least from the front three. And now 0.4 of a second, almost 0.5 of a second was the gap at the line. So potentially, Will Harrop, he has the pace.
Yeah, should be good. Hopefully he can give us a little bit of entertainment.
Well, hopefully Josh Birkin can make a move pretty soon on the number 1 plate, and then we can see it become a three-way battle for the race lead. And these guys, well, we've seen them battle throughout the past 2 years, really. And Will Harrop, of course, having a massive crash at Clandell last season in the senior mini moto class, putting him out at racing for a little bit of time. He came back this season though, and now it's Josh Birkin who comes back to take the race lead. So the number 1 leading the way in first position. Can Will Harrop though straight away pounce back? Yes, he does. He doesn't allow him to get in any rhythm. And Josh Birkin, he's got a battle in his hand at the moment, and certainly starting to push on. As now we come up to Rob Gentry. So this is where the race starts to get interesting. Of course, no blue flags, and this is where your race can be decided. Will Harrop continues to lead the way. Josh Birkin, he's done a slight bite for the race lead.
I think Nick's catching as well.
Yeah, Nick Bennett still catching these guys, and with these guys now starting to actually pass each other, this is where Nick Bennett is going to get involved for the battle. Josh Birkin, he seems to be building up through this first sector, and well, this is basically where he made the move last time around. So is this one of the strong points on the circuit?
I don't know where he's strong, to be honest. He did like from Christmas corner coming down the hill, but don't know where he likes this weekend.
Well, Christmas corner, one of the trickiest corners at Whilton Mill, and tricky conditions to be racing in the senior mini moto class. It's big riders on little bikes in 30-degree temperatures, and now 2 corners remaining with Will Harrop leading the way. It's Josh Birkin leaving it until the final lap. We're going to have to wait and find out, was there any game plan before this race started to leave it this late?
No, I don't think so. I think Will's just got too much pace. But it's good that he's got his confidence back now. After he crashed.
Nick Bennett as well, properly caught up now in 3rd position. Could he potentially be biting the champion for 2nd position? Will Harrop, he's looking unstoppable at the moment. He's unable to make any mistakes. It's been a near perfect race from Will Harrop, and it's been what we've seen race in, race out over the past 2 years. Is when he's in a rhythm, he's almost unstoppable.
Yeah, he's always consistent with his laps. Me and Joshua tend to crash a bit more, to be honest, and be a bit on the edge.
A bit more wild,
yeah, a bit more wild than Will.
Well, last lap of the race, half a lap remaining for these guys, and Josh Birkin, he's building up a move with 2 corners remaining. Can he make it work into the pit bends? It doesn't look like it, and Will Howard, he powers out through to take the checker flag and to take the race win. He shows his hand to the champion, and Josh Birkin, the fastest lap of the race on the final lap, he was definitely pushing on.
I reckon he's crying in his helmet right now. Tears will be coming down his face now that winning streak's gone.
Well, I'm sure he enjoyed that battle at least, because, well, it's a great battle between the front 2. Nick Bennett just a couple of tenths behind in 3rd, and Josh Birkin, he's definitely showing a congratulations to his mate.
Yeah, he'll be happy. He'll be happy with 2nd because he did actually have to race this time.
Yeah, well, 4
just drive up right away.
4 tenths of a second at the line. 2 races remaining this weekend. Do you think that's going to be almost the story of the weekend, or do you reckon, Josh, this is going to give him some extra motivation and definitely something to think about over tonight?
Yeah, I think that tomorrow's races will be good. Hopefully it'll be close, because no one wants to ride around on their own. Yeah, he will try harder now.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have to try harder, because Will Howard, he took the race win this time around in race 1. It was an impressive race for the 96 as he comes back into the paddock, and some high fives all around. But Will Howard on top this time around by 4 tenths of a second over Josh Birkin, who sets the fastest lap of the race on the final lap. Nick Bennett, he rounds off our podium, and Keaton Payne managed to finish ahead of David Mayat, rounding out the top 5, with Chris Yeomans and Holly Harris in 6th and 7th position. Mark Payne ended his race in 8th place after a battle with Callum White in 9th. And rounding out our top 10 was Lamar Morgan, so a great result for Lamar Morgan. I believe his first racing season was last year in the senior mini moto class, so great result for him.
Yeah, he had an hard year as well last year. He broke his wrist at the first round last year, so he had to miss a few.
Well, the senior mini moto class, they'll be back for another 2 races later on this weekend, and it's going to be a good one with Josh Birkin showing that he has some competition this time around. Now, for their first race of the weekend for the AC40 Pro class, and it's going to be Preston Baker who's going to be lining up on pole position. It's been an impressive result and in qualifying to secure that pole position, and now he is going to want to convert that into a race win.
Race 1 then for the AC40 Pros here at Whilton Mill. The sun beaming down onto this circuit. The temperature is rising. The tension rather is rising as the riders make their way out onto their way out onto the grid. I'm being joined in the commentary box by one Oliver Hall, a star of the elites, and of course the 2021 AC40 Rookies champion. Oliver, how are you doing on this fine Saturday morning?
Yeah, it's alright. Looking forward to see how the pro race turns out and see some good riding.
Well, you and me both, Oliver. We have got, of course, a brilliant weekend racing lined up for all of you at home. Hello and welcome to round 7 of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. Wherever you're joining us around the world, if you've just tuned in, we've got plenty more race 1s to come your way today. And, of course, all the race 2 and 3s over on Sunday. And as the riders make their way to the grid before they start their formation lap, well, it's an interesting one this weekend. Taylor Tomlinson does have the opportunity to clinch the championship in the AC40 Pros this weekend. Of course, the magic number of points that you want to lead with, you need to have a 75-point gap in the championship back to your closest rival. The gap between himself and Sebastian Kozlowski is currently 46, so he can do it mathematically. Whether he'll do it in reality, we're just going to have to wait and see as the riders make their way out on their formation lap. Of course, one tour of the circuit before they come back, and it's red lights on, red lights off, and we go racing here in race 1 of the AC40 Pro class of the penultimate round of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship. It's Preston Baker on the pole with Rex Austin alongside Taylor Tomlinson, only P3 for the championship leader, with Josh Perkins in P4. Sebastian Kozlowski can only manage P5, a disappointing qualifying for him as well, with Nicholas Dunwoody in P6, Logan Cousins is P7, and Archie Hoopen in P8. Now, of course, Oliver, you're much more familiar with what it takes to ride a mini moto around at Whilton Mill than I am. You know, especially when it's this hot. Of course, you've been out there racing already today in the LC40 Elite. You know, how tough is it going to be for these riders out there?
It's quite tough. For the riders out there, they're going to be pushing very, very hard in very hot conditions. So you're going to have to come in and get a towel and wipe the sweat off. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is very, very hot out there, to put it mildly. Temperature just over 30 degrees Celsius, and that's the air temperature, let alone how hot the track is. And given how physical a mini moto is to ride, you know, it is really a test of endurance, even for these short sprint races across the weekends. All riders now onto the grid. Our eyes go to the flag marshal, Lee Clowes, who will point to the lights now. It's red lights on. Lights out, we're underway, and it's a great start from Rex Austin in P2. He'll slide into the lead, and as well, I believe that was Josh Perkins who got a good start there. So it is Rex Austin who leads the way from the number 991 Preston Baker who leads, from Rex Austin in P2. Further back on the grid, Taylor Tomlinson got a good start. Sebastian Kozlowski not moving anywhere though. Taylor Tomlinson now being overtaken by Josh Perkins into P3. So Tomlinson, your championship leader, needs to make up some ground after a disappointing start. So does Sebastian Kozlowski. Both of the championship contenders just not getting the starts that they would have wanted. But here we see Tomlinson looking up the inside on the run, down into Chapman Corner. A lovely move there, up into P3. Goes the number 77. A very nice move. But as we come to the final half of the lap, and Taylor Tomlinson has to go on the defensive this time, from Rex Austin, or from Josh Perkins rather, that coming to the line now and out of the final corner, and it will be Preston Baker who leads this opening lap from Rex Austin, who leads this opening lap from Preston Baker in P2, Taylor Tomlinson in P3, and Josh Perkins in P4. Taylor Tomlinson, Oliver, he's got a championship on the line here. Do you think he's got to race smart and try and get the points, or is he just going to absolutely go for it for the win?
I think he's going to go for the win because the rivals of his is just to get past and do what he does best.
That is fair enough. Of course, no, you yourself were champion as well when you were in this situation back in 2021 in the rookies class. What did you do? Did you sit there and go for the win, or did you sit back, play it smart, and just bring home the points?
I pushed as hard as I could and then just tried to do my best.
That is absolutely fair enough. I mean, you got to get out there and have some fun, don't you? Almost contact between Preston Baker and Taylor Tomlinson there. Tomlinson had to back out of the move. I don't think Preston Baker saw him coming, and now Preston Baker has a look to the inside. Almost contact between Baker and Austin now as they come to the line. The top three covered by less than a quarter of a tenth of a second. Unbelievable action here in race one of the AC40 Pros. This top four, they're all covered by less than a second. Absolutely flying at the moment. The fastest lap of the race last time around was a 57.437. We're falling a little bit away from lap record, and there we see, having a look to the inside, was Preston Baker, but unable to move maybe on the inside and the exit of the corner coming out of Ashby, but he just was not quite able to get the drive. And now Tomlinson maybe trying to have an attack as they head back down the hill and into the left-hander. Once again, these front three, nothing to separate them. And Oliver, I'm sure you've been in that situation where you've got one rider right in front of you and one rider right behind you. Is another look there. That's Sebastian Gazlowski trying to make his way into P5, but had the door shut at him. What's it like when you're in that situation where you're just racing so close with other riders? It must be really nerve-wracking to know that you could be just a moment away from hitting the floor.
Yeah, it's quite fun though, because when you are in that situation, you're like, right, do you go forward, do you go for it, or do you just wait a second? But then some of the riders just go, let's go for it, even though sometimes it doesn't work out.
And there we see Preston Baker going for it up the inside, coming through Inkermans with a lovely move to take the lead. That's Archie Hooper that they're coming through to lap there, who I believe may have a bit of a problem on his bike. There's lots of wind now coming into the circuit as well. Flags flying all throughout the paddock. And the wind has really picked up his. That's making it even more difficult, coupled in with these high temperatures as well. So Rex Austin now leads in race one. It'll be 5 laps to go at the line this time. Preston Baker demoted down to second with Taylor Tomlinson right on his tail. And just behind them, Josh Perkins pushing hard. Preston Baker last time, fastest lap of the race, a 56.709. So the first rider then into the 56s is the number 93 and your race leader. And having to negotiate some traffic there as well, having to work his way through. And as they come through, and actually Rex Austin and Taylor Tomlinson having closed right back up as a result of that traffic. So it's once again a three-way fight for the lead with 5 laps left to go. Again, what do you do when you're in this situation, Oliver? You've only got a handful of laps left to run. You're super close with the rivals fighting for the win. Do you try and just push as hard as you can the whole time and try and dominate from the front, or do you maybe sit back, relax, just assess your opponents and then just attack at the right time and save it for later on in the race?
I would say try and do it as soon as possible, because you never know, if you sit back for a little bit, they could get away and you might not be able to get them at the end of the race.
Well, not my words, but the words of the 2021 AC40 Rookies champion Oliver Hall alongside me in the commentary box for this one. 4 laps left to run here in the AC40 Pros Race 1 in round 7 of the FAB Racing and Mini Bike British Championship at Whilton Mill. And wow, this is advantage Taylor Tomlinson in the championship. It must be said, while he's only running P3 at the moment, Sebastian Gazlowski only managing 6th. A disappointing opening race so far for the man in P2. And again, if Taylor Tomlinson leaves Whilton Mill with a 75-point advantage in the championship or greater, he is crowned champion of the AC40 Rookies in 2023. So maybe Tomlinson just playing it smart here. He's happy to sit in third, knowing that his closest rival, and yet one of his closest friends, is just not having his best race this season. But these front three still separated by absolutely nothing nothing as they come to the line. It'll be 3 laps left to go, and it's now Preston Baker leading by 1/10 of a second, and Taylor Tomlinson over a tenth further behind. You could not fit a piece of paper between these guys as they run up the hill, coming into Christmas. Rex Austin having a look to the inside. Is he later on the brakes? He is! Rex Austin to the inside. Can he hold that though? No. Preston Baker slides back through there, side by side, coming through the corner. Wow, what a move by Preston Baker to retake the lead of the race. Taylor Tomlinson had a look as well, but wasn't quite able to make it go. With only 3 laps left to go, Oliver, it's anybody's guess as who's going to win this race.
Yeah, it really depends because all of the top 3 are looking very strong, so it's going to be a battle to the line.
It absolutely is. Further back in the pack, that's Nicholas Dunwoody still holding off Sebastian Gazlowski, who would really preferred to have got moving earlier on. Just struggling maybe with the heat, with the fatigue that comes with it. Of course, it's a long weekend for these riders, as it is at such a young age. And to go out there when it's over 30 degrees in the track, even hotter than that, it is really, really tough for them. And again, he's hoping to run better tomorrow, hoping to get higher positions in race 2 and race 3, as this is just handing all the advantage in the championship over to the 77 of Taylor Tomlinson, who we see at the back of this leading pack. A 3-way fight for the race lead up the inside. Oh, and there goes Preston Baker. He drops 2 places. Wow, what a move by Rex Austin. Textbook stuff. He shoved his rival out wide. But that then allowed Tomlinson to come through as well. But Tomlinson gets a disappointing exit to Parker Corner. That could allow some advantage to Preston Baker. And they're fighting, and Preston Baker is going to squeeze through. He's got the inside line coming into the opening boot section. As we head to the start-finish straight, it'll be 1 more lap to go. This time by, and the top 3 still separated by absolutely nothing. Last lap board out from the flag marshal at Lee Clowes, 0.2 of a second separating the top 3 at the line. This time round, it's anybody's guess as to who is going to win this race. It's Rex Austin from Preston Baker from Taylor Tomlinson. Tomlinson looks to the inside of Preston Baker, but can't quite make it work on the run into Christmas Corner, the trickiest corner on the circuit for these young riders. What a treat we've been given this race from all 3 of them, putting on a great display. Tomlinson up the inside of Preston Baker with a great move, but that allows Rex Austin to get a further advantage as those 2 fight behind him. Can Austin hold on? Can Tomlinson launch an attack? Can maybe Preston Baker slide through coming into the final few quarters? It's anybody's guess as now Taylor Tomlinson under attack from the number 93 of Preston Baker, but he shuts the door. A few more corners left to run. Who's going to be on the top step of the podium come the end of this one? Final corner beckons. Taylor Tomlinson gets the run, but it will be Rex Austin who gets the win by 1.5 of a second. What a race we have just seen here. Taylor Tomlinson brings it home in P2, and Preston Baker third by only 0.05 of a second. Oliver Hall, you have just witnessed one of the best races of the weekend so far.
Yeah, this is one of the best races. As you can see, we saw Preston Baker slapping his tank. It is a good result, but it might have not been the result he was hoping for.
No, I'm sure that Preston Baker, especially running in the lead for as long as he did, would have wanted better, but he's still on the podium. What a race we have just seen, and what an interesting dynamic that adds to the championship as well. Taylor Tomlinson in P2, Sebastian Gazlowski only managing to finish in 6th place. A very, very disappointing result for him, and that means it is advantage Taylor Tomlinson in the championship. He picks up 20 points. Sebastian Gazlowski only picks up 10. 56 points is the gap separating the pair of them. It's Rex Austin who takes victory in race 1. Taylor Tomlinson in P2, and Preston Baker rounding out your top 3. Less than 0.2 of a second separating those 3. Josh Perkins with 4th, with Nicholas Dunwoody in 5th, Sebastian Gazlowski in P6, Logan Cousins with 7th, and Archie Hooper rounding out the grid in P8. Thank you very much for joining us today in the commentary box, Oliver Hall. It's been a real pleasure to have you here, and you got to witness a fantastic race as well.
Thank you.
Well, of course, don't worry, we'll be back with plenty more action in the AC40 Pros across the remainder of the weekend. They've still got race 2 and race 3 to come tomorrow. Race 1 in the Premier class is up next. It is time for the one that everybody has been waiting for. It is time for the big one. And as we wait for the riders to come out onto the grid, The tension's rising in the paddock, the temperature rising in the paddock. It is time for the LS2 Helmet Mini GP70 British Championship. You can see the riders forming up in the pit lane before they head out onto the grid. And well, Lewis Ray, is set to be a very, very interesting race with the championship as close as it is. It's anybody's guess as to who's going to come away from this weekend with the advantage.
Nobody knows who is going to be on top after this one. 13 riders in this race, and Archie O'Brien is going to be on pole position for it. But currently in the championship, Blake Wilson leads away by just 3 points from Luke Fitchett, and our pole position man, Archie O'Brien, is down in 4th position. But actually the reigning champion of last year, and actually 2-time champion of the LS2 Helmets Mini GP70 class, Ethan Sparks, is racing this weekend. He's here watching on for this class and watching all his mates who continue in this class to go racing. Ethan currently racing pretty much all across the world, in Spain, Austria, and occasionally in the UK. So it's great to see him back here at FAB, and hopefully we can see him on one of these Metroscript machines again, because it'll be something very, very special. But Marco Holt have a little conversation with his dad on the grid. A lot of these riders getting final tips and words of advice, and then we'll go off for one warm-up lap, and then we will go racing for the first time this weekend in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP70 class. Lee Klaus on the front of the grid, and actually on the pulling into shot at the moment, pulling into the grid position, is going to be Sam Gardiner. And now they head away for the one warm-up lap. It's going to be an exciting one, because it is the LS2 Helmets Mini GP70 Race 1. Plenty of championship contenders for this one. It's going to be an exciting race, and it's going to be Archie O'Brien who's going to be on pole position after setting a 49.705. Mark Holt will join him on the front row of the grid and hoping to claim yet another race win to his name. Luke Fitchett and Blake Wilson are in 3rd and 4th, with Luke Wilson, Dilks and Bill Harris on the 3rd row of the grid. Finlay Paulhill and Jensen Bishop begins the race from 7th and 8th, with Austin Johnson and Sam Gardiner on the 5th row. Ollie Sims and Harry Payne are in 11th and 12th, with Hamish McIntosh rounding out our grid here in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP70 British Championship Race 1 in Ross. It's going to be an exciting race, and really you cannot call it at the moment with just a couple of tenths of a second separating the front row.
Absolutely. The 4 riders at the front, the top 4 in the championship, only covered by 34 points. It is anybody's guess as to what is going to happen in this race. Archie O'Brien with an absolutely stellar lap for pole position. Marco Holt just a few tenths off him. It's all eyes to the lights. It's lights out and we're on the way, and it's another great start from Archie O'Brien. So it will be Marco Holt who takes the lead. Luke Flatcap Fitchett slides through, and Blake Wilson, and it looks like Wilson Dilks through as well. So a disappointing start there for the number 91 machine. He falls back from pole position, but it's Marco Holt who gets a great lead. That's very wide from Luke Fitchett coming through Christmas corner, and that allows Blake Wilson to slide into 2nd place now. But at the front, it's the number 58 Marco Holt, who is P3 in the championship at the moment, but again only 19 points back off of Blake Wilson in the lead. Here goes Flatcap Fitchett to the inside of Archie O'Brien, the 91 on the 7 with the 7 on the inside line, and the 7 with the position. Marco Holt, he did win race 2 here last year when it was round 6 in the championship. Maybe he can go one better and win race 1 this year as well. He will lead lap 1 of this race from Blake Wilson in P2, but the story of this opening lap, what a disappointing start for the number 91 of Archie O'Brien. Just did not get that launch that he would have wanted.
He did not get the start he would have wanted, and he's still battling away with Luke Fitchett further down the field. The 91 is through on the number 7, but then on the flip-flop, Luke Fitchett finds his way back. Bill Harris is watching all this on full, but Luke Fitchett, he had a good start there from him, a pretty consistent start, but we've seen him run wide, and that's not what he would have wanted at all. Very, very wide. Actually, he was lucky that he only dropped a couple of positions from that, as he lost a lot of momentum from it as well. And we see the front guys already starting to bridge a massive gap from these guys. So hello and welcome. If you've joined us at the perfect moment. This is the start of the race for the LS2 Helmets Mini GP70 class. And there's Jensen Bishop coming through the final corner at the moment and powering it through to the line. And the last weekend was his first weekend in the class. 8th place at the moment for Jenson Bishop. He's also been doing some go-kart races, so he loves motorsport to say the least, and the 8th position at the moment is extremely impressive. But there we see Wilson Dilks, the fastest lap of the race, a 50 dead from him actually, and he's currently battling away with Blake Wilson.
He is indeed. Wilson Dilks in 5th place in the championship at the moment, is still in the mathematical championship fight, but being so far behind, 130 points back, I think that unfortunately will come to an end this weekend, but he's going to go out there and give us a show nonetheless. As we see further down, Luke Fitcher and Archie O'Brien still fighting for that 4th place paying position. It's the number 7 currently in front of that number 91. It's 9 laps left to run, and Marco Holt with an amazing lap, and Marco Holt breaks his own lap record with a 49.685. That's 2/10 faster than he ran last year. Marco Holt has turned the wick up, and there we see actually Blake Wilson and Wilson Dilks fighting in the background. That's what's allowed Marco Holt to just break his own lap record from last year. We know he loves this place, especially when it's sunny. When it's rainy, he doesn't really like it. It becomes very, very slippery with all the car rubber that's down on the track. But when it's sunny and when it's, over 30 degrees like it is today, he is just absolutely flying. He is beating the heat. He is loving life out there at the front, and he's setting lap record and potentially another one this time. But we'll have to wait and see, because he is now just soaring away out the front of this pack. He'll come to the line in a moment. Isn't quite a lap record this time, but it's still faster than what he set last year. He is flying at the moment, and there we see problems.
Sam Gardner there.
Sam Gardner, who's pulled off to the side of the circuit. Not entirely sure what's gone wrong, but the battle for second place still rages. The 8 versus the 85. Blake Wilson versus Wilson Dilks. Of course, Blake Wilson, your championship leader, heading into this weekend by 3 points from Luke Fitcher. It really could not be closer in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70 British Championship.
The battle for second position is still raging on. Blake Wilson against Wilson Dilks, the number 8 against the 85. Who is going to come out on top? Last time around, 0.3 of a second separated the two riders at the line. It was a lot closer this time around. Archie O'Brien still ahead of Luke Fitchett further down the field. Currently Luke Fitchett in 5th place. I want to be further up the order than that, because Luke Fitchett in the 70s is second position in the championship, 3 points behind, and this will be allowing Blake Wilson to extend his gap as Blake Wilson drops down to 3rd place. So Wilson Dilks in second position on the 85, the impressive place there, but Blake Wilson second place in the championship so far this year. Blake Wilson first place in the championship, I should say. 5 race wins to his name, 13 podiums in total. An incredible run of points there, and 2 race wins last time out as well. So Blake Wilson, he's the man on fire. He's the man which has all everyone wanting to beat him. He has a target on his back essentially, and currently Archie O'Brien, he's closing the gap.
He is indeed. The number 91 is flying, and just thinking to myself a moment ago, I was watching Marco Holt's time on our timing screen. He's been dropping about 1/10 a lap. That just shows how warm it is. The riders are getting so quickly fatigued, and the tyres are just getting warmer and warmer, and just losing a little bit of grip there, costing them 1.5 every single lap. That's how hot it is out there. These tyres, which are usually super strong and can run an entire race at full chat, these things out there, they're just really struggling with the temperature, and of course one has to wonder what state they're going to be in come the end of the weekend. But going back to the battle with Archie O'Brien slowly closing the gap on Wilson Dilks and Blake Wilson, of course your pole sitter in the number 91 with a disappointing start, something which he's struggled with for a long time in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70 British Championship, but he's fighting his way back through now. It is 5 laps left to go in race 1 as we came to the line that last time by. Marco Holt is 3.5 seconds up the road. He's done what Marco Holt does best and just put the flight and disappeared into the distance. But Blake Wilson, Wilson Dilks, Archie O'Brien now all within touching distance. You can see Luke Flatcamp Fitchett isn't far behind them either. So this could very quickly, Lewis, turn into a 4-way fight for with only a handful of laps left to go, and with the championship so tight, it's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen. But all of these riders will have eyes on that prize of second place, because it means so much for the championship heading into the final round at Three Sisters.
The tension is building in the championship, and the tension is building in race 1 of the weekend. They come across the line now to make it just 5 laps remaining for these guys. Marco Holt, he leads the way by 3.8 seconds. So Marco Holt, he wants to convert it into another race when perhaps now he's just taking a little breather. He knows he's got a good lead, and this is where he puts in some consistent times to keep the gap about the same. But right now, you have to put everything out on the road for Wilson Dilks, because he is in second position ahead of this building field. Blake Wilson, though, he's not been able to fight back, which is, it's surprised me quite a lot, to be honest, because we've seen that places like Rowra and even Clandell, where he's been able to fight back straight away, and that's been his key point all season, is he's not allowed anyone to get into a rhythm. But perhaps now Wilson Dilks just getting in somewhat of a rhythm, as Archie O'Brien, he's getting in a rhythm, and he is catching every single lap. The gap last round between the two of them was 4/10 of a second. Now it's 2/10 of a second. The gap has halved in 1 lap. Archie O'Brien, he's the man on a mission, and he's looking for a podium finish as he looks down the inside. Perhaps his next corner, he makes it work. Can he run wide, or will he make it stick? The 91 in third place at the moment. Will Blake Wilson fight back straight away? We've said this has been his key point all season, and it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do it. So now the order: Holt from Dilks and Archie O'Brien in third.
Slight redemption there for Archie O'Brien. A little bit of breathing room in the championship as well after his poor start to race 1. Back onto the podium place is great to see for Spider-Man at number 91. But of course, it's not like Blake Wilson's just going to roll over and take it, is he? He's going to fight all the way to the bitter end. It's 2 laps to go at the line this time by for this pack. Archie O'Brien has got to think about defending from Blake Wilson. He'll also want to get his head down and attack Wilson Dilks over the last 2 laps. It all depends on who's got the pace. At the moment, it is Archie O'Brien with the pace on board. He ran 3/10 faster than Wilson Dilks on that last lap, 5/10 faster than Blake Wilson behind. You can already see he is starting to catch up to the 85 of Wilson Dilks, but does he have enough time left? There's 1.5 laps left to run for the number 91. Is he going to have the pace to catch up to the 85? Only time will tell as they head round the left-hander of Chapman and through Oblivion and onto the rather short but still the back straight. Marco Holt, though, talk about domination. He starts his final lap of the race with a very comfortable advantage. Over 5 seconds it will be at the line, and he has ridden it to perfection. 5.6 seconds is the gap back to Wilson Dilks in P2. Of course, he's had successes here in the past. He did really well here in the Mini GP 50s last year. He won race 2 in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 50s Championship, or Mini GP 70s Championship last year. Now he's adding a race 1 to his resume. He's looking to fight back in the championship. He was 19 points behind coming into this weekend, of course, with Blake Wilson and Luke Fitchett in front of him, but with a dominant race 1 and his nearest rivals not finishing where they would have wanted to finish. It will be Marco Holt who's taking the advantage in the championship and putting the momentum behind himself, and already waving to the crowd. So confident is the 58. He wins in Wilton with a brilliant race 1. Marco Holt, take a bow. We wait for the 85 of Wilson Dilks to bring it home in second, and Archie O'Brien rounds out the podium just half a second away from P2. But Marco Magical Holt, talk about superb.
14 race wins to his name now this season alone for Marco Holt in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70 class. An impressive run there. And Marco Holt, 14 race wins in the Mini GP 50, I should say. 5 race wins, now 6 in the Mini GP 70 class. An impressive run of results for Marco Holt. He's been incredible in both classes this year. Plenty of track time for him throughout the weekend. One of the nicest families you'll meet in the paddock. So Marco Holt, such an impressive run of results, such impressive pace all the way throughout the race. 3/10 quicker than his qualifying time last time around. So Marco on the 58, he takes the race win by 6 seconds, and he waves and gives handshakes and fist bumps to the crowd who watches on. The 58, Marco Holt, he's first on the roads and his first step of the podium. 6 seconds was the gap at the line. Wilson Dilks and Archie O'Brien will join him on the podium for race 1, with Blake Wilson unable to claim his podium this time around after a consistent race in 4th. Luke Fitchett, a pretty lonely race there from him, with Bill Harris and Finlay Paulhill just behind in 6th and 7th. Jenson Bishop and Ollie Sims came home in 8th and 9th, with Austin Johnson rounding out the top 10 in an impressive LS2 Helmets Mini GP 78 Race 1. Of course, these guys will still have 2 more races coming up this weekend, and where everyone's going to be going back to the drawing board to see if they can stop Holt.
Race 1 for the Mini F1 Sidecars Championship coming up next here at the penultimate round of the FAB-Racing Mini Bike British Championship here at the Whilton Mill kart circuit. You can see the sun beaming down from above, and as the riders head out on their formation lap, of course, heading out to the grid is the formation lap for the Mini F1 Sidecars. It's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen. Only 50 points in it in the championship between the 26 of Mick Williams and the Green Street on board the number 90 machine. And again, these guys not having a formation lap, so this is it as far as they're concerned. This is all they're going to get, and they're already racing out there, the 2 championship rivals. It could be interesting to see what's going to happen. It is the Green Streets repeating their pole position from last year on the 90, with Mick Williams and it's Jack Quarters on the passenger seat once again in P2. Mick Lee is P3 with Vince Bailey and Amy Tilbrook in P4. Chris and Robert Impey are P5 with Mark Parker in P6. John Hosker is 7th and Jamie Alexander starts on the number 11 in P8. Again, it's anybody's guess here, Lewis, as to who's going to be on top. The Green Streets on pole, repeating their achievement last year, but unfortunately it all fell apart in the races a little bit for them. But they have been slowly clawing the gap into Mick Williams. They're trying to take the championship fight to him. But again, this is Mick Williams we're talking about, the eternal, everlasting god of Mini F1 sidecars. It's going to be interesting to see how the championship takes place today.
The championship is on in the Mini F1 sidecar class. Mick Williams, they've took 12 race wins throughout this season so far. Just 3 race wins in the last 9 though, and it's been the Green Streets who's been charging to make it just a 50-point gap separating these 2 guys so far. Just 2 rounds remaining, of course, 6 races left total this year. They'll get 3 races this weekend, and the Green Streets going into the wrong grid position. It looks like they're on the 90 machine. So can the Green Streets convert the pole position into the race win? A great sidecar turnout this time around. 8 outfits will be on display, and will we see some heroics like we've seen from Vince Bailey and Amy Tilbrook at Rowra, where they went round the outside? Some of the most brave sidecar racing that I've seen ever, to be honest. 2 riders on these small machines. It's always a spectacle here at FAB Racing, here at Whilton Mill.
It is indeed. Flag Marshal Lee Clowes just having a quick chat with the Hosker machine, but it's all eyes on that front row. It's the championship rivals locking it out. The Green Streets repeating their pole success from last year. Mick Williams, the eternal champion, alongside him in P2. It is anybody's guess as we wait for Lee Clowes, the flag marshal, to point to lights. Looks like we've got some problems on the Hosker 127, but back on the bike, it is all eyes then to the lights. We wait for the point. It's time to go racing. It's red lights on. It's lights out. We are underway in the Mini F1 sidecars. It's a great start from the Green Streets. It looks like there was some guys getting away slowly, the Impies, but it will be Mick Williams who takes the lead from the start, despite a great start from the Green Streets. But look how close they all are, heading up the hill into Christmas Corner. Side-by-side action between Vince Bailey and Mick Lee. They head through the right-hand hairpin, but it's the 26 of Mick Williams who got the slightly better start, but the Green Streets almost pushing them as they head through Inkermans. It is going to be so close. Oh, a lock up there for Mick Williams. The Green Streets touch the grass in response. That actually means that Mick Williams gains a little bit of time there. Of course, Michael Ems, his normal sidecar passenger, still not with us after that injury at Clandau. Of course, we hope you get well soon, Michael. But of course, Jack Quarters on the sidecar once again, still doing a great job on the number 26. But what can the Green Streets do? They've lost out from pole position, but there's still 6 laps, almost 5 laps now left to run in race 1 of the Mini F1 sidecars. They can't hand the advantage to Mick Williams in the championship.
A fantastic first lap for the Mini F1 sidecars, and actually on the grid it looks like John Hosker, his transponder might have came off his machine, so it looks like they shoved it inside of the driver's levers to be able to get racing. But there's Vince Bailey and Amy Tilbrook. They were at Knockhill last weekend, for the Sidecar Festival, so they really love sidecar racing. And right now, we really love seeing Jason and Leo Greenstreet at the front and giving Mick Williams a battle. Currently at the line, last time around, 9/10 of a second separated the front two. And Mick Williams and Jack Quarters are looking incredibly impressive, considering they've not rode with each other too long. So still quite a new pairing, and still quite a lot of confidence and understanding between the two of them that's having to get sorted. But at the moment, they come into the back section of the circuit and towards the boot, one of the best corner names I think I've ever heard, and then we'll come towards the pit bend with just 5 laps remaining at the line this time around. Mick Lee setting a 102.6 last time around, and now Mick Williams taking that away and setting their fastest lap of the race, and the fastest lap of the race overall for 58.8, 1 second quicker than Jason Leo Greenstreet. An impressive lap time there from them. And now it looks like we've seen once again Mick Williams at the front and trying to run away with it.
Well, unfortunately for Mick Williams, if they finish like this in every single race this weekend, he still doesn't clinch the championship. It will go down to the final round at Three Sisters, and we see there further back in the field. That was the 457 of Chris and Robin Impey trying to get past the Hoskermobile, but just not quite able to make the gap appear as they look to the inside. But the Greenstreets, of course, they are still going to try and take the fight to Mick Williams and Jack Quarters on the sidecar this weekend. They are riding like men possessed, and even if they don't quite have the pace in this early race, there's still 2 more races to come tomorrow. There's still 2 more pole positions to get the jump from the lights on. Could be anybody's guess as to what is going to happen. Further back in the pack, the 369 of Vince Bailey and Amy Tilbrook continuing to show us the biggest showboaters in the paddock, as we like to call them. Again, if you missed the last round at Rower, somehow pulling the most acrobatic save I think I've ever seen to stop the bike from rolling over. It was absolutely superb stuff. They're currently in P4 fighting with Mark Parker, and Mick Lay just in front of them as well, actually. And then further back, we've still got the 127 of John Hosker being followed by the Impies on the 457 machine. You can see just how close all of these guys are together. This is actually quite rare for a sidecar race. They usually separate out onto their own pace, and you might get 1 or 2 battles, but not such a big pack all running together, which is absolutely fantastic to see. Again, a great big field of sidecars this weekend here at Whilton Mill. 8 different sidecar teams out on the circuit, which is absolutely brilliant. But it is Mick Williams who still leads the way. He makes it 3 laps left to run. The Greenstreets will follow 3 seconds away in P2, and Mick Lay a further 5 seconds back in P3. Those are your podium places at the moment, so it's advantage Mick Williams in this race. Of course, we've still got a few laps left to go. Anything can happen in mini F1 sidecars, but you've got to think he's got at least race 1 in the bag.
It certainly looks like it at the moment, but John Hosker, he's looking for a way past on Mark Parker and Ems. So Mark Parker and Ems trying their best to defend from the 127. Just behind them though, Chris and Robert Impey. A bad start as now the 127 has a great move on the grass there. The grass getting flicked up, and they make their way into 5th position. John Hosker battles his way through. Now we have to wait and see what can Chris and Robert Impey do. They qualified in 5th. Currently in 7th position, ahead of Jamie Alexander and Martin Hills, who makes his return. Isaac Greenstreet, who won't be riding any more mini F1 sidecars this season. Potentially next year, though, we could see yet another Greenstreet on the grid. Currently, though, the Greenstreet's 3.1 seconds away at the line. So this is the closest battle on the circuit, and it looks like John Hosker is closing the gap on Vince Bailey and Amy Tilbrook. So with just 2 laps remaining at the line this time around for these guys, we have a race on our hands for 4th position.
We do indeed. Who's going to be on top in P4 come the end of this race? Will it be the Baileys? Will it be Hosker? Will it be Mark Parker? Will it be the Impies? We're going to have to wait and see. Mick Williams, though, absolutely soaring out in front of the 26 machine, showing his class, showing their domination over the mini F1 sidecar world. Of course, the never-ending champion. He's won so many championships. I lost count. I remember last year, I believe it was, off the top of my head, it was Whilton. No, not Whilton, I apologise. I believe it may have been, in this case where it was, but of course last year, at one of the rounds was the first round where Mick Williams hadn't won a race in something like 3 seasons or something. So fast are these guys. Well, the Greenstreets, though, they may have had pole position. They've had to concede the win today, of course, pending a disaster over this final lap. But there's still 2 races to come tomorrow, and if they finish like this in all 3 races this weekend with Mick Williams in P1 and the Green Streets in P2. Mick Williams does not clinch the championship. He needs 75 points. That is the gap that he needs in the championship back to the Green Streets to take it at the end of this weekend. If they finish like this, the gap will only be 65. He's find another 10, unfortunately, Mr. Mick Williams. But heading down into the backstretch now, the number 26 has been another superb ride. Again, Jack Quarters, the substitute passenger, doing a phenomenal job on that sidecar, just doing exactly what Mick needs. And as he heads through the boot and coming up to the final corner at the pit bend, it is another spectacular victory for Mr. Mini F1 sidecar. Mick Williams wins at Whilton in race 1 with a superb ride and putting his stake on the championship, showing that he's not done yet. There's still time left in him. There's still pace left in him. The Green Streets bring it home in second after a disappointing start. The gap goes up to 55 points in the championship between the two sidecar outfits. But what a ride from Mick Williams. Despite the early challenges from the Green Streets, they just did not have the pace in race 1.
Didn't have the pace in race 1, and Mick Williams adding yet another win to their tally. Jason Little, Green Street, can they fight back in race 2 and 3 and keep their championship hopes alive? If it stays the way it is for the next 2 races, it will go down to the final round. So the Mini F1 sidecars yet again producing some of the best racing. 2023 is certainly the start of hopefully the golden age of Mini F1 sidecar racing. Mick Williams, they've been in the championship for a long time. I mean, dominating for a long time, so it's a really fresh thing to see the likes of Jason Leo, Green Street, which we spoke to last round, and they put absolutely everything into Mini F1 sidecar racing. Everyone does this sport because they absolutely love it, and they go out and have some fun. Mick Williams and Michael Elms, which sad isn't here. Mick Williams and Jack Quarters, they would have been having fun on the circuit because they took the race win by 2.4 seconds from Jason and Leo Greenstreet in second place. Mick Lee finished in third position, rounding off the podium with Vince Bailey and Amy Tilbrook in fourth. John Hosker rounded out the top 5 with Chris and Robert Impey making it up to 6th place after a terrible start. Mark Parker and Ems finished in 7th, with Jamie Alexander and Martin Hills rounding out our Mini F1 sidecar race 1. Of course, still 2 more races to come later on this weekend where it's going to be a cracker and the sidecar championship is going down to the wire. Coming up next is the Extreme 200 class. 3 races this weekend in scorching hot conditions and one of the best fields that we've seen in a long time. 18 riders will make the start in the Extreme 200 class, where we have names like Philip Soroviak, Ethan Sparks, which is returning this season for the first time after doing the double in the LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70 Championship. Henry McCartney will also be racing. Rossi Banham will be making his return as well. Dan Goodman will be racing. Plenty of British Talent Cup riders out on the fields. And in number 96, Will Howarth, who will be starting this race from last position, will be racing in the Extreme 200 class. So no matter who you are still going to be up for a challenge and still going to be up for a race. Bailey Stewart Campbell as well, making his way to the grid. Blake Wilson as well. So plenty of riders making the start in the Extreme 200 class. And Ross, you have to say, you cannot call this one.
Oh, you cannot. Again, we've got the staples of the Extreme 200 class this year. You've got your Philip Soroviak, you've got your Blake Wilson, you've got your Sullivan Mounds, you've got everyone, but then you've got the returning from Spain, the 2-time back-to-back LS2 Helmets Mini GP 70 British champion Ethan Sparks. He's lying up on the front row. Bailey Stewart Campbell coming back as well. As you said, Rossi Banham makes his return to the FAB-Racing paddock as well. You can see there Ethan Sparks alongside Philip Soroviak on the front row as they're just waiting for their formation lap. And Sparks, of course, off doing his thing in Spain and all over the world this year. And of course, we wish him the best of luck with his racing endeavours. And it is great to have him back in the FAB-Racing paddock. Now, interestingly, mathematically, this is one that could be wrapped up in this race. If Sullivan Moundy outscores Blake Wilson and Philip Soroviak, then he is champion. But unfortunately, Sullivan Mounsey is not in the best qualifying position, so we'll have to wait and see if he can do that. But on the pole position, it will be Philip Sorowiak with Ethan Sparks alongside him. Bailey Stewart-Campbell is in P3 with Henry McCartney in P4. Sullivan Mounsey, championship leader in P5 again. He just needs to outscore Sorowiak and Wilson to win the title. In P6 is Richard Holmes-Williams. Blake Wilson starts in P7 with Dan Goodman in P8. Charlie Huntingford is 9th, and Rossi Bannon's last year pit wine 140 champion. He starts in P10. Austin Johnson is in 11th with Brandon Keane in P12. Reece Peacock, that's a throwback, in P13 with Simon Huntingford in P14. Aidan Bentley is 15th with Ollie Sims alongside, and Jordan Thomas and Will Howarth round out this ridiculously strong grid that we've got in the Extreme 200s today. Again, unfortunately, people like Ethan Sparks and Bailey Stewart-Campbell and Richard Holmes-Williams, maybe denying Sullivan Mounsey that championship that he would have liked to have wrapped up in race 1 today. But we'll have to wait and see. It's anybody's guess, of course. Philip Sorowiak, last year's Extremes champion, doing a great job to stick it on the pole position, but the returning Ethan Sparks, his first time back at FAB Racing this year. Can he show us what he's made of and why people see him as a star tomorrow? It's ice to the lights. Lights out, we are underway here at Whilton Mill in the Extreme 200s. Philip Sorowiak sweeps past Sparks to take the lead of the race. It was a strong start as well from Bailey Stewart-Campbell, and Sullivan Mounsey into P4. That is a great start for the man who all he needs to do to win the championship is outscore the race leader. Well, what a great start there for Sullivan Mounsey, but wow, super brave from Philip Sorowiak to slam the door like that on the 62 of Ethan Sparks. He's not one that you want to race harshly because he will punish you, but Philip Sorowiak, the British Talent Cup rider, he feels confident in his ability, he's confident in his skills, and he knows he can take the fight to Ethan Sparks. The front two already bolting away from the pack on lap 1.
Sullivan Mounsey will be watching these front two run away and be wanting to get his elbows out and get racing on the number 4 machine. He's ahead of Henry McCartney and Bailey Stewart-Campbell at the moment. Austin Johnson further down in the field, battling away with Will Howarth currently in last position. But Philip Sorowiak, he comes over now and comes towards the second lap of the race. Bailey Stewart-Campbell, though, impressive run, trying to catch up and trying to battle away with Henry McCartney. McCartney, of course, we've seen him win at Rowra, so we know how quick he has been. It's great to see, it's refreshing to see Ethan Sparks back on the motorcycle here at FAB Racing. He's been racing out in Spain, he's been racing out in Austria, he's been having a go at a little bit of everything, and now we see Sparks back away at the front and battling away with Philip Sorowiak, and proving these are the talents of the future. Of course, Philip Sorowiak currently racing in the RNG British Talent Cup and having a very good year, constantly improving with Sullivan Mounsey, who is currently battling for the championship with Evan Belford at the front. At the front of this race, a 49.8, the fastest lap of the race, goes to Ethan Sparks. Sparks clearly trying to make a move any minute now. 2/10 of a second separate the two of them at the line, and now it's absolutely nothing. They're inseparable at the front.
It is nothing separating the 6 and the 62 here with 10 laps left to run in race 1 of the Extreme 200s at Whilton Mill. Sorowiak versus Sparks, behind them Mounsey versus McCartney. It is anybody's guess as to who's come out on top in these battles. Sorowiak, a little bit of breathing room here as he heads into the boot, the final section of the racetrack. And Ethan Sparks, again, such a brilliant talent. You've got no idea what he's going to do. You can see how honest he's keeping Philip Sorowiak out. The Sorowiak fastest lap of the race, a 49.745, just half a tenth of a second off of the lap record around here in the Extreme 200s. And that was set back in 2018 by Charlie Nesbitt. There's a name for you old FAB Racing fans watching along. But it is still Sorowiak that leads from Sparks. Sullivan Mounsey fighting with Bailey Stewart-Campbell now in P4. But I can tell you that that's wrong. It's definitely it's definitely not Bailey Stewart-Campbell following him, I don't think. But it's Mounsey holding on to P3 at the moment. Again, if they finish like this, the championship still goes into race 2. So Mounsey does not win the championship because Sorowiak finishes in front of him, which isn't what he wanted. But again, he's still very far ahead in the championship. Down goes the 30 of Aidan Bentley. That's coming through the middle section of the racetrack. down at, I believe that's down coming through Ashby Corner as we head out back into the lead. It is actually McCartney that is following Mounsey. Soroviak now a 49.740. We're getting dangerously close to the lap record here. They are flying along in the Extreme 200 class with 8 laps left to run. This is what happens when you get 2 of the stars of tomorrow fighting out there and giving it their absolute everything.
It's awesome to see on the circuit, and now Ethan Sparks, he's trying his best to hold up with him and trying to beat that lap record. Of course, as you said, Ross mentioned, set by Charlie Nesbitt back in 2018, showing the class that Fab Racing creates. Of course, Charlie Nesbitt claiming his first BSB podium this season at Fruxton, but now these riders, which hope to be in BSB one day, continue to battle out. It's Henry McCartney who follows Sullivan Mountsie. There is Bailey Stewart Campbell. No signs currently of Richard Holmes Williams, who we know as well in the Extreme 200 class, extremely quick. Henry McCartney looking down the inside though on the 31 machine, almost making contact there with Sullivan Mountsie on the number 4. 7 laps remaining in this race, and a 49.5 from Ethan Sparks, setting a brand new lap record in the Extreme 200 class on the 62 machine. Can he hold up? Can he battle and overtake Soroviak? 2/10 was the gap at the line, so the 62, an all-time lap record in the Extreme 200 class at 49.525. And Ross, that's extremely impressive and showing what he can do.
It is indeed, but Soroviak also broke the lap record last time around. It's just that Sparks broke it a little bit faster than the number 6 machine, so he's the one who gets it. But I mean, technically, Philip Soroviak held the lap record for about 0.2 of a second before Sparks crossed the line behind him. These guys are riding on the absolute edge. There is nothing to separate them from flying as fast as they can and hitting the deck. This is superb action in the Extreme 200s. There we see Mounsey and McCartney fighting further back in the pack as they head through Ashby Corner. Can Mounsey get the switch back? No. It looks like McCartney has got through and has made that move stick. So lovely work there from the 31 of Henry McCartney to get through on Sullivan Mounsey. Of course, another British Challenge Cup star we've got here today. I mean, this grid is just full of future British motorcycle stars out here. It's still Soroviak that leads from Sparks. There's 5 laps to go at the line this time by. And those two at the front, they're now starting to properly fight because their laps are seriously dropping. They're starting to duel and juke it out every single corner. I think Sparks has had enough of following Soroviak and that number 6 bike. I think he now wants to fight his way through, but you can see there just at the front of your picture a little bit of traffic ahead. I believe that's Will Howarth on the number 96 that's ahead of the number 6 of Soroviak. So we're going to have to wait and see how they can negotiate Mr. Will Howarth. They're going to have to slide through, or does Sparks get held up? Not quite. He does a little bit, but it's not horrific. Again, back markers always cause chaos here in Fab Racing. There's no blue flags. You have to negotiate them with your own skill, and they can make or break a race. 4 laps left to go on the line this time. It's still Soroviak that leads from Sparks. Sparks ever so slightly faster on that last lap. McCartney in third with Sullivan Mountsie just trailing him in P4. These two guys are putting on a show for the ages.
He certainly is, and now 4 laps remaining in this race, and Sullivan Mountsie diving down the inside of Henry McCartney and almost pushing them wide. Sullivan Mountsie did run wide though, and these two scrapping is allowing Bailey Stewart Campbell to get into the mix, and now Henry McCartney back down the inside on Mountsie. This is the battle for 4th position, 3rd position at the moment. The final position on the podium. Now they come towards Will Howard. Will Mountsie get held up? He manages to get through on the braking zone, perhaps Stewart Campbell will. And now Sullivan Mountsie powering out through on the number 4 machine, trying to hold on to that final podium position, the one he has wanted. He's on that bushy motor. We've seen him battle him with Casey O'Gorman at the start of the season. An extremely impressive class this year. So many talented riders, and that's what you see in this class. So many talented riders, such talented racing goes on the circuit, and all clean from these guys as Mountsie dives down the inside. Almost contact between the two of them, and Mountsie back into the podium positions, and the battle for 3rd is certainly not over yet.
Super Sullivan Mountsie. What a move up the inside, almost touching ankles between himself and Henry McCartney, and there's problems further back in the pack for one of our riders with 3 laps left to run. But as we cut back to the battle, it is Mountsie in head, and once again that is Aidan Bentley We saw him having issues earlier on that number 30 machine. They are continuing to plague him late in race 1 for the Extreme 200s class at the penultimate round of the FAB Racing Mini Bike British Championships here at Whilton Mill. 2 laps left to run. It's Soroviak from Sparks in P2 who sets another lap record of 49.517. Those guys pushing back to their best once again. Mounsey in P3 and McCartney in P4 after that really brave overtake from Super Sullivan. Mounsey in P4, or on the number 4 rather, as they head through. And coming into Ashby up the inside though, there goes McCartney. Lovely move. He retakes the podium places. How does Sullivan Mounsey respond? Looking to the inside maybe. Yes, he does. This battle continues to rage on. Mounsey still holding on for the time being.
Mounsey showing McCartney the edge of the circuit there. The battle for 3rd position carries on, in the battle for the race lead carries on to the last lap of the race. Lee Krause with the last lap board. Ollie Sims there on the 73 machine. Will anyone get held up? Can Sparks manage to get through? Yes, he can. No one held up there. And actually, Ollie Sims running very wide into Christmas Corner there. Such a tricky part of the circuit. But Philip Soroviak all the way throughout this year, he's been one of the men to watch, one of the men to beat in the Extreme 200 class. Currently racing on Harvey Clarge's old bike, and he's been doing an extremely good job on it. They've struggled to get a setup on it. They've been struggling to set up the suspension mainly with it being far too hard. But a 49.3, a brand new lap record last time around. Ethan Sparks, he's caught up a lot though to 1 corner remaining. Philip Soroviak powers it out through. Will he take the race win? It looks like he will. Philip Soroviak wins race 1 of the Extreme 200 class. 0.2 of a second separate himself and Ethan Sparks at the line. And Sullivan Mounsey manages to hold on to 3rd position. A cheeky little look behind at Henry McCartney. But Philip Soroviak takes the race win in race 1. Just 0.2 of a second separating himself and Ethan Sparks at the line. And Will Ross, I think one thing that is clear to see in that race 1 is we are going to be treated to some fantastic action this weekend.
Oh, we are indeed. Soroviak and Sparks take a bow. Mounsey and McCartney take a bow. 2 spectacular battles at the front of the field. And although it is Philip Soroviak who comes out on top, Sullivan Mounsey essentially moves within 1 race of the championship. Blake Wilson now out of championship contention, and Sullivan Mounsey just ahead of Philip Soroviak by a handful of points. And Soroviak really needs to hope that he wins both the races and that Mounsey does not finish the next 2 races to stay in this championship fight. It is Philip Soroviak who takes a fantastic victory after a fierce fight with Ethan Sparks in P2. Sullivan Mounsey, your championship leader, rounds out the podium with Henry McCartney in P4. Bailey Stewart Campbell was 5th with Dan Goodman in P6. Charlie Huntingford with 7th with Rossi Banham on the 196 in P8. Richard Holmes-Williams with 9th with Austin Johnson rounding out the top 10. Brandon Keenan P11 and Ollie Sims in P12. Unfortunately, we lost Aidan Bentley, Will Howarth, Jordan Thomas, Blake Wilson, Reese Peacock and someone else as well. We've still got 2 more races left to run in the Extreme 200, so make sure you tune in for them.
Now then, the first race of the weekend for the Moto Team class. It's been an exciting weekend in qualifying for these guys. They've been very closely matched on the circuit, and looking at the lap times, and actually one championship in the Moto Team class is already wrapped up with the standard class. Pinky and the Brain have already won the championship at Rowra, and they have a 155 point lead going into this round. They only needed 150 points, but currently Pinky and the Brain, 12 race wins to their name. The open class is still open at the moment. Team Anthony Racing, 5 class wins to their name, 3 overall race wins throughout the year, and they have an 8-point lead from Ernie the Badger. So while the standard class is certainly done for the year, the open class is not. A massive grid this time around for the Moto Team guys. 16 bikes will line up for the start of this race, and Ross, it's going to be a good one where we're going to see Will Howarth make his return and make his return in pole position.
We will indeed, even though the Moto Team Standard class is done and dusted. The Open class is still all to play for, as you said, Lewis. And again, as you said, Will Houth makes his return to FAB Racing, makes his return to Moto Team, and that number 96 sitting pretty on the pole position. Of course, last year, Will Houth basically won every race off the top of my head in the most dominant fashion. I think the only races he didn't win are the ones he didn't start, which just shows how strong he was last season. He started doing last to first challenges as well at some point. If you remember, he would just sit himself at grid box number 30, even if he qualified on pole, and just try and fly his way through the pack, and usually he did. That man is a Moto Team magician, and can he from pole position convert it into a brilliant win in the Open class and get back going in the championship? The championship is still wide open as the bikes get ready to head out for their formation lap. 4 teams in the championship picture: Team Acme, Team Ernie the Badger, Team FFC, and Team Will Houth, I suppose we're calling it. We get ready to go for our formation lap, and we are underway for the green flag lap with Will Houth leading them away from the pole position start. It is the number 96, Team Will Houth. He starts from pole position with the number 26, Josh Hill. He starts alongside him. Team Acme Racing, the number 1 car bike, starts in P3 with Fraser Kinnard alongside in P4. Jacques Van Eden, a few of the Free Tech guys coming along here as they did last year. So Jacques Van Eden, he starts in P5. He had some strong results here last time out. And Team Dis alongside in P6. Team Harrison O'Keefe starts in P7. Great to see the O'Keefes back here with Scott Jewett alongside in P8. Tristan Margot is P9 with Team Ben O'Keefe in P10. Phil Mapplebeck is 11th with Team Ernie the Badger. Disappoints in qualifying, only managing P12. Team Bear is P13 with Rob Huntley in 14th. Madison Martlew and Team Gary O'Keefe round out our grid for the Moto Team Race 1. Again, a lot of new, old returning face, should we say, to the likes of Will Houth, the Moto Team, or the Free Tech guys going back like they did last year, shall we say. If I remember correctly, I believe it was Jacques Van Eden who used to race in World Championship back in the day, or something along those lines anyway. He's definitely raced alongside some very, very strong competitors, so he definitely knows what he's doing on a motorbike. And as we get ready to go racing, Will Houth starts from the pole position. Are we going to see a repeat of what Will Houth usually does, in that he twists the throttle and he's already in a different dimension?
He was over 1 second quicker in qualifying. Can he do it in the race? The lights are on. And the lights are off, and we go racing for the first time of the weekend for the Moto Team class. And it's going to be Will Houth who leads the way into turn 1 from Josh Hill. He's got a mountain to climb though if he wants to be able to battle Will Houth, and he looks down the inside into Christmas Corner straight away though. And now straight away is Jack Van Eden. After making a slightly poorer start, he's back into 3rd place, making up lost ground. Manson Martlew as well further down the field, battling away with Gary O'Keefe. But Josh Hill, he knows he has to make the move very, very early on. If you watch any of the Moto Team classes and races with Will Houth, you know as soon as he's in that rhythm, he shoots off into the distance, and it's very, very rare that you see him make a mistake. But there's a 3-5-7 of Team Dis battling away further down the order with Scott Jewett. It's so great to see such a big field for the Moto Team class. It's been a class which always fluctuates in numbers every single round. A lot of the Free Tech guys, endurance guys, making the trip out. Of course, at Brouwer last time around, some of the guys even do the 24-hour race before the weekend even started. But Manson Martlew there still further down the field as Josh Hill still on the back of Will Houth. A very, very impressive start to the races. And 25 looks down the inside. Can he make it work? Yes, he does. So Will Houth demoted into 2nd position after lap 1. He almost makes contact there with the 96 machine. The 96, he doesn't like being in 2nd though, so Will Houth, he's got a challenge on his hand.
He does indeed. Will Houth overtaken. Stick that on your front page. Something we've never really seen before around here at Whilton Mill. But again, he's going to fight back, because of course he is. It is the number 96 of Will Houth. But Josh Hill on that 25 machine is absolutely flying. Of course, those two are competing in different classes. The 25 is a standard class bike. The 96 is an open class bike. So, you know, theoretically, these two guys fighting means absolutely nothing. It's all about pride and glory at this point. As Will Houth to the inside, heading into the final corner there at Pit Bend. I believe he will take the lead. No, he doesn't. He just drops behind Josh Hill as they get it onto the straight there Fraser Kinnard on the 191 with a very strong lap of 58.393. Right away to see and that. Look at that. Is that Will Howarth on the 96? He's dropped behind Jack Van Eden as well, so potentially problems for Will Howarth as he drops further back. The 25 of Josh Hill now has clear track. Will Howarth still trying to fight with Jack Van Eden, but it's anybody's guess as to what is going to happen. Maybe there was traffic potentially because it looks like Will Howarth is back on the pace once again. Van Eden puts on the defensive, but no, not quite. Can Will Howarth get through? But up the inside, that is brilliant. Heading through Chapman, Will Howarth with a fantastic manoeuvre. Late on the brakes, tips the front end in, and he's back into P2, but he has dropped quite far away from the 25 of Josh Hill, Lewis. He's got a bit of work to do if he wants to win this race.
As Will Howarth comes across the line this time around, it's going to be very, very telling on if he has any issues or not. A 58.6, his personal best lap of the race. A 57.8, almost a second quicker as Josh Hill at the front. So perhaps Josh Hill just has the pace in the race. Just a little bit off the qualifying times at the moment though, but now we see them battling way through. Team Apnea Racing, 5th position. Of course, Team Apnea Racing, they've had a great year so far, currently leading the Open Championship and battling away with Ernie the Badger. And Ernie the Badger, they're all the way down in 10th position. So this is going to be a really telling race for the championship as Jack Van Eden is actually getting caught up by Apnea Racing. And Apnea Racing going down the inside, the number 1 plate on, of course, defending champions in the Open class. And the Open class, well, it's wide open at the moment with Josh Hill leading the way in the standard class in this race, a 57.8, the fastest lap of the race. And Will Howarth, he's already caught up onto the back of him, it seems. So as they come across the line this round, watch a very, very impressive time for Will Howarth, a 56.333, the fastest lap of the race, almost a second quicker than the man in front.
Wow, what a lap there from Will Howarth. He is now pushing. That's the number 96 that we're more used to seeing as he's all over the back of that number 25 machine, heading through the top part of the circuit and into Ashby Corner. Josh Hill still holding on to the lead for the time being, but Howarth is pushing. Howarth has the drive. Howarth has the outside. Can he sweep it through? No. But will he mirror what he did to Jack Van Eden, trying up the inside? Yes, he will. It's the same move twice, and this time it is the lead for Will. Oh, no, he does have a problem. Slowing down massively. What's going on for Will Howarth?
Looks to be potentially a retirement there, but he's managed to get a bike going again, so it seems to be not potentially clicking into gear for Will Howarth. And it's stopping him from winning this race at the moment. 8 laps still remaining though, as there is Jack Van Eden crashing out of the race in 3rd position. Jack Van Eden picking the bike off the floor, but Will Howarth having some issues. Jack Van Eden crashing in 3rd, so Josh Hill at the front. This is what you'd be wanting at the moment, coming into this race as almost the underdog. Will Howarth securing pole position by almost a second, and now in 2nd place. It shows in motorsport, in motorcycle racing, anything can happen with these guys. All it takes is a little issue like this, which is really affecting this race. 1 minute lap time last time around. Jack Van Eden almost 3 seconds quicker than him, so impressive stuff. And Josh Hill, he wouldn't be expecting this one.
It's just bizarre behaviour from the machine of the number 96. I mean, obviously it clearly had a problem coming down the back straight, and then it just sort of kick-started itself back into life again. And then look at that, Will Howarth is already catching up to the back of Josh Hill. Maybe that was similar to what happened earlier when he slowed and lost out to Jack Van Eden early in the race. Jack Van Eden unfortunately has retired, helmet's off, he's looking at the bike, and that is a real shame for him. Will Howarth fastest lap last time as well at 55.697, the number 96. He's coming back with a vengeance. He doesn't want any more mechanical issues, and let's hope he doesn't. And he's getting quite close to his own lap record, which he set back in 2018, which is a 53.320, but that also used a different regulation set. The bikes were slightly faster back then. So for Will Howarth to be lapping this quickly says a lot, says how hard he is riding that number 96. He is flying at the moment. He's not close enough to pull the same move this time on the 25. I feel like Josh Hill probably a little bit wise to what's going to happen, but now Will Howarth gets the inside line with a drive out of the straight and slides into the overall lead, heading into the boot section. Again, these two fighting means absolutely nothing because they're in 2 different classes, but it's all about pride and honour, and it's all about the overall lead of the race, and it's Will Howarth back in that top spot.
Second place in the motor team standard class at the moment is Team Dis in 5th place overall, but second place in the open class is Acme Racing, 3rd position overall from them, but 5 laps remaining in this race. And Josh Hill, he's slowly watching Will Harv edge away. Will have a bit more confidence knowing that Will Harv is somewhat nursing an issue right now, so all it takes is for that issue to come back 1 or 2 more times and he could potentially win. There is Acme Racing with the number 1 plate on the bike. They're of course in the open class. Second place for them after Jack Van Eden crashed out. It looks to be a retirement from them, and they can only watch on as their rivals parade around the circuit. 5 laps remaining in this race. They're ahead of Fraser Kennard in 4th place as well. Rounding out top 5 at the moment is Team Dis, ahead of Harrison O'Keefe. Hop Racing, as always they like to call it. It's only 2nd weekend in the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championship in the motor team class, and already starting to impress.
Well, it's an interesting note that Harrison O'Keefe actually was the overall victor last time out at Rowler in the standard class. He just had the most consistent results in that class, so he was awarded the overall victor's trophy, which is just incredible stuff. And although he was labelled the fast one in the family by his relatives, it must be said that is still an amazing job from him to come in on his first weekend of FAB-Racing and come in there and be the overall victor in the standard class. Of course, let's not knock Gary and Ben O'Keefe out of the equation either. They're still out there doing their thing. Gary's still on the bike again. His job around was to keep the wheels on the track and try not to hit the deck. He hasn't done that this weekend either, so big shouts out to the O'Keefes. Super nice guys and doing a super great job out there today. In race 1 of the Moto team at Whilton Mill, Will Howard though still leading the way on the number 96. He is really starting to pull away from Josh Hill on the number 25. Of course, again, those two are different classes, so Will Howard leading in the Open Championship and Josh Hill leading the way for the standard guys.
Will Howard managing to get past the 888 Aprilia of Madison Mark Liu, who's currently running in 13th position. So a great result for them, and they're ahead of Gary O'Keefe at the moment. But 3 laps remaining in this race. No issues just yet for Will Howard. Hopefully he can able to make this bike limp home on the 96 machine. 3 seconds of a gap last time around from Josh Hill. And Josh Hill, as every single lap ticks by, it's looking more and more unlikely that he's going to be able to clinch this race win. Potentially there, just sorting out his helmet, sorting out his visor there on the back straight. Not a long back straight, not a lot of time to think either, because on these bikes you have to get them over quick. Massive wheels for these go-kart circuits, very tight for them as well, and very bumpy. And there's one thing we've seen all the way throughout the weekend: you can lose the front very easily on the bumps. It's not been resurfaced in quite a while, but even though it hasn't been resurfaced, it's still some of the riders' favourite circuits on the calendar. They love the nature, they love the layout of this circuit, and you can see why, because this is one of the most fantastic shots that we see all season.
Well, they love it until the rain starts falling, and then everybody hates it because all the grip disappears. They call it slippery wheel for a reason. Again, there's a lot of karting that happens here. It's one of the most popular kart tracks in the country, so there's a lot of kart rubber down on the track surface, and when it rains, yeah, it just becomes an absolute ice rink for the motorbikes heading around. It looks like Will Howarth hasn't had any issues since a few laps ago. He'll be starting the final lap of the race in just a few short moments. So of course, if you're on Team Will Howarth, is he going to do it? One more lap to go to see if he's going to overcome the issues, but it looks like everything is okay. He's riding back at full pace. The last lap board held out by the flag marshal Lee Clouds, and it is clear track, clear skies for Will Howarth, and he can frankly cruise home at this point. He's 6.5 seconds ahead of the overall nearest man, Josh Hill, on the number 25. He is 10 seconds ahead of his nearest class rival on the Team Acme Racing number 1. Will Howarth, it was an interesting opening half to the race. A couple of issues flagging up, slowing down here and there. But as soon as he got his visor down, as soon as he just started to push, it was back to the Will Howarth that we know and we love. And he was back flying away at the front of the pack. The number 96, a few corners left to run to take a dominant overall victory.
Well, Howarth, he's shown how mature he is. He's stayed on the motorcycle and he has 2 more corners remaining. He's going to come round the pit bend to take the race win, take the checker flag on the 96. Will Howarth wins on his return to the motor team class. Josh Hill should cross the line in 2nd position. It looks like later on this weekend he's going to have more than a hill to climb before he can match the pace of Will Howarth. but Josh Hill will win in the standard class, just not overall. Team Acme Racing, they'll come home in third place as well. Second place in the open team class. Second place in the standard class should go to Team Dis as well. But Will Howarth, a very, very impressive ride there on the 96 machine. 7.8 seconds separated himself and Josh Hill at the line. So great stuff for the motor team guys. Will Howarth winning overall and in the open, with Josh Hill winning in the standard and second place overall. Team Acme Racing, third place for them. Fraser Kennard on the open team class as well, fourth place for them, third place in the open team. Team Dis is fifth place with Scott Jewett in sixth. Harrison O'Keefe, the top O'Keefe from race 1 in seventh, with Team Ernie the Badger currently battling for the championship in the open team class in 8th place. Tristan Margaret is in 9th place, with Ben O'Keefe rounding out the top 10 in the motor team class. Ben O'Keefe in the standard class as well. So great stuff from the motor team class and motor team racing in the open and the standard. The open class is looking as wide open as ever. It's going to be fantastic racing, with still 2 more races remaining this weekend. Coming up is race 1 for the weekend for the Mini GP50 class. It's going to be an exciting one. We have a 22 bike field, and joining me for this one is a very, very special guest that can work wonders on one of these Mini GP50 bikes. Some call him a superhero with his helmet being Spider-Man. It's Archie O'Brien. Archie, how are you today?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Had a bit of a disappointing race in the 70s. The clutch was slipping and we changed everything, but it still didn't make any difference. But hoping we can fix it for tomorrow and get back at it.
Hopefully you can. Hopefully we can see a cracking race in the 70s and in the 50s in this one. Of course, the first race of the weekend in very, very hot conditions. And of course, you've already been out in the circuit yourself. How is it as a rider riding these MotoGP machines in such hot conditions here at Whilton Mill?
It's not actually the heat when you're riding the bike that's so bad. It's the track's got so hot now that it's kind of getting a bit slippery. I was finding I was having a lot of slides, but it should be good for a 50 race because you don't have that much power going to the back wheel.
Well, it's 4:30 in the evening. Perhaps temperatures getting slightly cooler at the moment, but the track maybe a little bit greasy for these guys, and a little bit greasy for Marco Holt, who's lining up this race in pole position. And Marco Holt this season, very, very impressive. 13 race wins to his name, 16 podiums in total. He had a 7 race win streak until Ella Park when he had some bike issues. So a very impressive result, and Marco Holt once again looking like the rider that everyone else has to beat.
Yeah, he's been really dominant this year, setting good pace everywhere he's gone so far, and he's stuck it on pole by a considerable margin today, so I think he's going to get a nice gap out front and then control it from there.
9/10 of a second was the gap between Luke Fitchett and Marco at the front row. If you had to look at before this race, who would you say is going to be the favourite? Do you think Fitchett can invent something pretty special at the start of this race, as we see Dylan Tureen having some issues there, potentially in the wrong grid slot?
Yeah, I think Marco is going to be able to just clear off. I think Luke's going to try and consolidate his P2, but he's going to have Wilson, who's a great starter and a really attacking rider. So as now they're going for their warm-up lap, we'll run through the grid.
Yeah, Marco, there's been an accident on the warm-up lap there. Everyone managing to avoid Coy Gleason, who's crashed coming off the grid. So Coy Gleason, no one should be wanting to at all start a race. I didn't see exactly what happened. She was in the middle of the pack, of course, and with a 22 bike field, anything can happen. But Marco Holt, moving on, will be starting in pole position with his arch rival Luke Fitchett alongside. Wilson Dilks and Frankie Watson will be on the second row of our grids, with Byron Johnson and Sam Gardner in 5th and 6th position. Harley Baker and Jensen Bishop lines up next to each other in 7th and 8th, with Matthew Thomas and Travis Shaw sharing the 5th row of the grid. Hopefully we can see Chloe Gleason line up in 11th place next to Dylan Tureen, who we also seen having a couple of issues, with Bethany Ashby, Tyler Hartley in 13th and 14th, Annabelle McCarthy and Ollie O'Gorman on the 8th row of the grid, with George Ackerman, Seth Hayward, Lucy Curtis and Murray Simmons rounding out the top 20, as Riley Paisley and Cal Maxwell will go on the final row of the grid. And Archie, it's looking to be exciting one, tension building, and already incidents before the race has even started.
Yeah, it's such a big grid. Probably just maybe 3 riders trying to go into the same line, and unfortunately Chloe just got caught out, but I'm hoping she can make the start, as I can't quite see, but hopefully she's there and we can have a full race, as she's just lined up on the grid, so I think we're all good to go for the race.
All good to go for the race. You've heard it here first. The parents just doing final checks for these guys. Frankie Watson having a little chat as there's a slight issue, it seems, and there is Wilson Dilks being told to go back where he should belong in the grid, a little bit too far to the right, it seems, to where they want him. So Lee Klaus saying that is not going to happen and getting repositioned for the start of this race. We're now ready to go, and Lee Klaus, she will point to the light in any moment now. We point to the lights, everyone clears off the grid, the riders will rev now, and the lights go on, and the lights go off, and we go racing. And it's Marco Holt who leads the way on the 58 machine. Luke Fitchett continuing his run in second. He's going to have to get past very, very quick Marco Holt there. A little look down, a little shake of the head at the start, potentially even some issues. Harley Baker getting overtaken straight away by Byron Johnson at the start of this race, but running away with it at the front is going to try to be Marco Holt, but Luke Fitchett, he's doing a great job to keep with him at the moment. Wilson Dips, we've seen him get told off at the start from where he was starting. He's still got a great start though in third position. Potentially they can hold with Marco if he can overtake him in the first couple of laps.
Yeah, if they can beat him up early on, they might be able to contain him, but it already looks like he's bridging a bit of a gap. So I think if Frankie Watson can get on the back of Wilson, and Wilson can close up to Luke a little bit, we can have a good 3-way fight for second.
Frankie Watson been one of the most impressive riders in my opinion over the past 2 seasons, constantly building, and such a mature attitude from him. He's not the type of person that backs down to a challenge, constantly improving weekend in, weekend out, and getting further and further up the order.
Yeah, he's been out to Spain quite a bit, but he's been training really hard, and you can see how much he's progressed over the past couple years, as before he used to be running down into kind of struggling for top 10s, but now he's confidently fighting for the podium in some races.
Well, Wilson Dilks, he's looking at the back wheel of Luke Fitchett at the moment, as there is Byron Johnson still ahead of Harley Baker further down the field, but Wilson Dilks, who looks like the man that is going to be trying to make a move very, very soon on Luke Fitchett. But there's one thing we know about Luke Fitchett, and especially you, Archie, because you've raced against him quite a lot. He's incredibly good at defending.
Yeah, he's really strong. It's definitely his strong point, but he's also very accurate. He never misses an apex, so you have to make the move because he won't make a mistake. But Wilson looks to have a decent run here, but I don't quite think he's going to be close enough.
Look, well, Whilton Mill as well, it's one of those tracks you really have to be committed to make a move for it. There is Jensen Bishop though, battling with Matthew Thomas and Sam Gardner. Sam Gardner having a little look down the inside, he backs out of it though, but Jensen Bishop, a great year as well for him so far. He's been constantly building up in the 50 class, having a little go at the 70 as well, but Jensen Bishop moving up from the mini motos with Matthew Thomas and Sam Gardner. So these riders constantly improving, and with such a big field this year, you really could get a race with anyone.
Yeah, you can have a race for first, but then you could also have a race just for 20th, but this is the quality of the field. Everybody's pushing hard and nobody wants to give up an inch or a place, but Luke Fitchett actually sets the fastest lap last time around, only 1/10 off of the lap record.
Only 1/10 of the lap record, as you mentioned, set by Luke Fitchett himself, a 51.662, and that was set last year as well before the rain, before the heavens opened. But there is Sam Gardner looking down the inside of Jensen Bishop. Can he make it work once again? It looks like that door is just getting shut. And Christmas Corner, it's such a tricky corner. You come out of it straight away and then into the foot towards Ackermans.
Yeah, it's a difficult complex, but I managed to make a move on Blake Wilson earlier going into there, and it's all about just getting alongside, because even if they have the inside for the left, that usually ruins their run down into the tight right-hander of Ashby.
Well, Jensen Bishop, he's managed to get ahead finally of Matthew Thomas. So Matthew Thomas, he's the rider in the middle of the pack. Sam Gardner, he's only able to watch at the moment. This is currently the battle for 8th position. So now they power out through battle for 7th position, I should say, as now Jensen Bishop, he's up into that place. Just 7 laps remaining though, and Marco Holt, a 51.632 this time around. he looks like he's able to finally break the lap record. A 51.662 was the lap record set last year, and now in the perfect racing conditions, he's able to finally break it.
Yeah, that was a good lap time. I think he can go even quicker, as he did a 51.0 in qualifying, but we just saw Sam Gardner making the move on Matthew Thomas. So, like we said, there's great battles all the way through the field, but currently it is Marco Holt who's still streaking away out front with a 51.4 that time round. He's just going even quicker. We could even see a 50-second lap time on a 50 for the first ever time round there. That would be truly impressive.
It would be magical. Just 73 thousandths away in qualifying, as you were mentioning. So a 51.4 constantly building, it seems. Now he's in his rhythm and now he's pushing on. But he has a 1.5 second lead at the moment, and he has a pretty nice lead in the championship. 78 points going into this round, and there's confirmation of that fastest lap and that new lap record. So now he's starting to push on when perhaps he doesn't need to as much, but that's the way Mark Holt does it. He constantly tries to beat his own lap time, and that seems to be what keeps him focused. But now just one corner remaining of this lap, where we see the lap record get bet once again as the battle for second still continues, and now they come across the line. It will not be just a 51.5. I say just the 51.5, still 2 tenths quicker than the guys behind.
Yeah, but Wilson Dilks also did a 51.5, so he's looking really racy behind Luke Fitchett, as there's potential for Wilson to steal the fastest lap here. He's got a nice toe off of Luke, who's trying to keep up with Marco, so if kind of the quicker Luke goes, the quicker Wilson should go, as they both navigate the back marker of Callum Maxwell nicely there. It's good to see everybody getting through all the back markers cleanly, and it's looking to be a good race between these two. There's Frankie Watson's just fallen off the back a little bit, 5.5 seconds, so I know he's got really good pace, but I think they've perhaps just upped it a bit too much for him, because he set his best lap of the weekend, but I don't quite think he's progressed enough yet to be able to take it to Marco and Luke, who have been in it for quite a few years now.
Well, this is where you want a gap, a nice comfortable gap, is whenever you start to hit the back markers, because look at the gap now he has on Wilson Dilks. So Wilson Dilks, he's been held up by what looks to be Riley Paisley further down the field. So Marco Holt, he leads the way at the moment by 2 seconds, a comfortable gap to save himself if this situation happens with Murray Simmons, if he gets held by a back marker. So how difficult is it in this class to be able to fight, especially when there's 22 riders on the grid and we have such big difference in lap times? Of course, everyone's still learning, which is fair enough to them, but these guys at the front, they're battling for a race win, battling for a championship. So it's so impressive to see them being so respectful.
Yeah, at the end of the day, they are here to win, but they're not willing to risk anybody else just for it, because I think it's a little bit kind of nice of them not to be too aggressive, because they sort of know they're racing as well, so they don't want to harm them. But I remember racing back at Lyd, I unfortunately had two coming together with back markers, so it was unfortunate, but I did understand, because they're trying to ride their race as well, so you can't be too hard on them, because everybody has to learn.
It's a part of racing. It's a massive learning curve this year for a lot of the riders in this class moving up from the mini moto categories, as there is Lucy Curtis and George Ackerman battling further down the field, and that is the battle for 19th position that Marco Holt is coming up on at the moment. So Holt diving down the inside, trying to get past them as soon as possible. But Marco Holt this season, as we were saying, 13 race wins coming up to this one, 16 podiums in total. He's only been off the podium twice throughout the whole year, while Luke Fitchett, it's all been about consistency. He's just had one race win to his name, but 16 podiums in total.
Yeah, it's been really consistent from Luke, as he just about gets down the inside of George Ackerman there, but now he's got to navigate Lucy Curtis, which he looks to be doing. But Luke is a really consistent and measured rider, so I do expect him to be getting podiums quite regularly, as last year I managed to get 23 out of 24 podiums, so I was kind of the king of consistency last year, but I didn't quite have the pace to go with Luke, only managing one win, but I was still pretty happy with that, considering how fast Luke was last year.
Consistency is key, as now he gets past Tyler Hartley, as now he sees the last lap for just one more lap to circulate around this circuit. 1.2 seconds is the gap of 53.2 as well. So perhaps Marco Holt, he's just slowing down a little bit. Perhaps getting held up a little bit by back markers as Taylor Tomlinson and Annabelle McCarthy as well could look Fitchett on this final lap potentially catch up. If Holt is held up, Holt dives down the inside, he has to back a little bit though, so this is going to allow Fitchett to catch up as soon as possible. The 58 trying his best to get through on Taylor Thompson. He makes it work now and he gets past Annabelle McCarthy. It looks like he's got no one that should interrupt him in the final half lap of this race. Luke Fitchett, he's still in second though, and he's still pushing on. How's he going to be able to get past these back markers? Marco Holt, 2 corners remaining through the boot and then towards pit bend. Marco Holt on top once again and takes his 14th race win of the season. Second place, Luke Fitchett, another podium yet again for him. And now in third place, Wilson Dilks is the championship order. 1, 2, 3 in the championship is 1, 2, 3 on the roads. And Archie, it was an impressive last couple of laps from Luke Fitchett. Perhaps Holt either easing it up a little bit or getting held up by back markers, but you have to give it to him. He gave it absolutely everything and especially tried his best. And look at that, friends off and on the track.
Yeah, they've got a close rivalry on track, but as soon as the racing's finished, they're all friendly again. But that was a good race, and Marco Holt managed to extend his championship lead to 83 points now. So that should, hopefully, for him, he could wrap it up by the end of the weekend. And if he keeps winning, he certainly should.
Yeah, it looks like it could potentially be wrapped up by the weekend. Before we head to Three Sisters, it's going to be the exciting end to the season, and with a lot of these guys haven't had much experience around the Three Sister circuit, but Marco Holt, he has plenty of experience winning, especially at Whilton Mill. He wins the race by 1.2 seconds over his arch rival in the championship, Luke Fitchett. Wilson Dilks rounds off our podium this time around on the 85 machine with Frankie Watson. Another impressive ride, consistent ride in 4th place. Byron Johnson and Sam Gardner is in 5th and 6th with Jensen Bishop in 7th. Harley Baker, Matthew Thomas and Travis Shaw rounds out our top 10. And well, it's been great for you to join us this time around, Archie. We wish you the best of luck this weekend, and well, in the 50s and the 70s looking as close as ever.
Yeah, it's been good racing since the start of the season, really. Hopefully get a better start than I did today, because dropped back down to 5th, which wasn't ideal, and I had to overtake Luke Fitchett, who we said earlier is one of the best defensive riders at FAB, and then Blake Wilson, the championship leader. It wasn't easy, but I managed to overtake, and then on the last lap my clutch started slipping, but hopefully fight tomorrow, so thank you guys.
Hopefully we'll see Archie fighting at the front tomorrow. One of the most talented guys in the field, but great stuff, and still 2 more races remaining.
Well then, final race of the day, and it is the race 1 of the Pit Bike 140s, and boy oh boy are these guys gonna put on a show, because we have got some familiar and famous names returning. Rossi Banham, last year's champion, Taylor Lawrence, the champion of 2021. Those guys back and up the front of the grid. Chris Wells could wrap up the championship in race 2, or he could wrap it up in race 1 if he finishes in first and Liam Wood doesn't score, but again, he's got some strong competition. There are 6 riders up the front who are looking super strong. And again, Chris Wells mathematically could wrap up the championship in race 1 here. Whether he's actually going to do it, we're going to have to wait and see. Lucas Brown apparently has also turned up. He missed qualifying. He'll be starting from the back. He was in Spain yesterday, so fair play to Lucas Brown for turking up to and running at the back. He's P3 in the championship at the moment, but is out of championship contention mathematically. So, as the riders make their way to the grid, Lewis, we've got a 24 bike grid. It's the Pit Bike 140s. It's always chaos. We've got some famous pit bike faces returning to the grid this weekend. It's going to be an absolute cracker.
It's going to be one of the highlights of the weekend, that is for sure. So many riders that can battle for the race win, so many returning riders as well. It's great to see Lucas Brand as well. Looks to be on one of the AMR bikes that he might be renting out for the weekend, shall we say, but it should be great racing for these guys. And Rossi Banham, what can he do? The number 1 plate as well at the front, and also not just about returning faces, we have plenty of new faces. And if you're watching this coverage today and want to join in at Fab Racing, head over to the Fab Racing website or contact any one of these riders, like Jamie King as well. We'll happily be able to help you and point you in the right direction on how to get started. But plenty of returning riders. Lucas Brown is all starting. There's a little issue there at the back of the field, but now we are getting ready to head out on our warm-up lap for this humongous field in the Pit Bike 140.
We are indeed 24 riders getting ready to go on their formation lap for the final race of Saturday, and it is Rossi Banham, the reigning champion. He returns to Fab Racing and immediately sticks it on the pole position. Liam Wood, second in the title race. He starts from P2. And Taylor Lawrence, the 2021 champion, he comes out of retirement again and comes back to Fab Racing this weekend. Chris Wells, he's leading the championship. He starts in P4. He's got a tall order if he wants to clinch the championship in this race. Reece Peacock, another returning face. He starts in P5 with Pit Bike Sonic, Jamie King in P6. Zach Tureen and Brandon Keane are on the fourth row of the group with Keaton Payne and Elliot Crosby rounding out the top 10. Sean Whitaker is 11th with Bradley Freya in P12. Noah Drury is 13th with Joshua French starting alongside him. Alfie Garrett is in P15 with James Ratcliffe alongside. The 9th row is Stephen Butterworth and Bailey Lawrence, who had a great run last time out at Rara. And Seth May and Mark Portis, they round out the top 20. Robert Baldock starts in P21 with Shannon King in P22. And Simon Portis officially qualified last, but not least in P22. But Lucas Brown missing qualifying because he was quite literally in Spain yesterday. He starts from the back in P24. A humongous grid of pit bikes here. Some returning faces, some very, very strong riders up the front. And at Whilton, these guys always put on a show. It's the Pit Bike 140s. It's anybody's guess. Some guys in the wrong positions forming up on the grid, but we are ready to go racing. It is red lights on for race one of the pit bikes. It's lights out, we're underway. A great start from reigning champion Rossi Banham. He will inherit the lead down into turn one, but there goes the returning Taylor Lawrence, almost squeezing past Liam Wood, who manages to hold on to P2. Chris Wells looks like he's held on to P4 as well, with Pit Bike Sonic getting a great start, looking up the inside maybe of the championship leader. No, not quite, but the number 96 is the returning, the ever dominant Rossi Banham from last year, who's already streaking into the lead ahead of Liam Wood in P2, with Taylor Lawrence fast starting in P3. What can he do on his return to the Fab Racing paddock as well this weekend? The 2021 champion, he was disappointed at how much pace everyone's gained in him, but he's still very, very fast on that number 10 by Chris Wells as well. Holding on to P4, although Jamie King, it looks like, may have got through him into P4, so great stuff from Jamie King, the fast starting Pit Bike Sonic. He holds P5, it will be Chris Wells ahead of P4, but Rossi Banham with an already monumental lead. He'll lead from pole, he'll lead lap one, closely followed by Liam Wood and Taylor Lawrence in P3.
1.4 seconds at the line separates Banham and Wood. Taylor Lawrence, though, just behind on the number 10 machine, and he is chasing Mergori and chasing his ex-rival Rossi Banham, who's starting to clear off into the distance. Chris Wells is ahead of Jamie King, and Jamie King potentially has got a brand new engine for this weekend as well. He's been having some engine issues this year, but now he's able to fight near the front once again. But there's Taylor Lawrence battling away with Liam Wood. He's unable, though, to find a way through. He's been trying to get his front wheel in there, trying to find a way through early in the corner to get him in the braking zone, but he's leaving it a little bit too late, as there is the 25 having some issues at the side of the circuit. So disappointing there for him. But now we carry on at the front of the race, and we carry on battling away at the front with Taylor Lawrence following Liam Wood behind. And now 10 laps remaining, and this Pit Bike 140 race one is not over yet.
Yeah, Lucas Brown having problems there, the 25, unfortunate for him. Starting at the back, of course, because he missed qualifying, and now he is out of the race. It may have been Seth May in the 27, apologies there, but Rossi Banham has disappeared into the distance, but we've still got a fierce fight on our hands for P2 with Liam Wood, Taylor Lawrence and Chris Wells, your championship leader in P4, looking to wrap it up this weekend here at Whilton Mill, the penultimate round of the Fab Racing Mini Bike British Championships. It's anybody's guess as to how this fight's going to go as Taylor Lawrence gets a run coming down into the boot section. Look at how far ahead Rossi Banham already is. He had the fastest lap last time. He's sure to go even faster this time, and he does a 52.287, not far off the lap record, and that was the 23, I believe it was, who's gone off there, the 29, apologies. That is Reece Peacock, so a shame for him again on his return as well. Another superb rider, Reece Peacock, out of the race before it even starts, but of course he's got 2 races left to show us what he can do on a pit bike machine. But it is still in this battle for second place, the Liam Wood machine of the number 94, just about fending off Taylor Lawrence, who goes to the inside, heading through the Ashby corner and gets the position. Can Chris Wells get through as well? Yes, he can. Well in, Chris Wells. A lovely move there to move up past the 94 and onto the podium places. That is not enough to clinch the championship in this race, but again it hands him the advantage in the title race heading into race 2 and race 3. But there he is, the 2021 champion on I think his 5th return from retirement, his first comeback to Fab Racing this season. Taylor Lawrence gets into P2 and starts to put the hammer down, but Rossi Banham is already 5.5 seconds clear with 8 laps left to go. I think the win might be out of the question pending a disaster for Rossi Banham, but Taylor Lawrence already showing he has lost nothing while he has been gone from FAB Racing. Lawrence in P2, Chris Wells in P3, Liam Wood in P4, Pit Like Sonic, Jamie King now on the back of Liam Wood as well. So Pit Like Sonic doing a good job, and Lucas Brown as well. He is siding his way through the field, it sounds like, so we'll have to wait and see how he's able to do.
Lucas Brown currently in 8th position on the number 7 machine, starting from the back of the grid, and now he battles on. So Lucas Brown, there he is, battling his way through and consistently puts it in lap times. He's setting a 53.8. That is around 1 second quicker than the man in front, which is Brandon Keane and Zach Tureen just in front of him. So consistently building 7 laps remaining. You would have to say he could potentially be in a shout here for about 6th place finish, I would reckon, for Lucas Brown. But Rossi Banham, a 52.2 for him at the front of the race, the fastest lap of the race as well, just 2 tenths away from the lap record. But Lucas Brown, he's battling his way through on the 07 machine, and now he's trying to find some more pace in his machine for tomorrow, certainly. Of course, since he missed qualifying, in FAB Racing here, we run the qualifying results for all 3 races for your starting position. So it means Lucas Brown battling for the championship, he's going to have to start from the back in all 3 races. It's a massive mountain to climb.
It is indeed. Unfortunately, if he finishes where he is now, Lucas Brown will be out of championship contention mathematically, which is a huge shame for him. He's been super strong all season, but coming into race 2, it looks like it will be Chris Wells versus Liam Wood for the title. But wow, what a move there from Lucas Brown up the inside of Brandon Keane to make it into 7th place. That was a brilliant move heading through the boot section, and he is absolutely flying around this Whilton Mill circuit. But up the front, Rossi Banham, new lap record, shatters his lap from last year. It's a 51.932. First time a pit bike has ever gone round here at Whilton Mill in the 51-second margin. Rossi Banham, he may have been away from Fab Racing this year, but the reigning champion shows he has not lost a single ounce of his talent and pace as Lucas Brown now finds his way past Zach Tureen. He is also flying. Lucas Brown, although he started from the back, is absolutely doing a brilliant job out there at the moment on that number 7 machine. He is up into 6th place, and with 5 laps left to go, Jamie King even is about 6 seconds ahead at the moment, but Lucas Brown is consistently lapping about a second faster than him. As we've got down there, that is the number 20 having an off. That's Alfie Garrett, who's gone down. He was running just outside of the points paying position, so a shame for him. Hopefully everything is okay and he can remount the bike. But talk about Lucas Brown, he is flying at the moment.
Rossi Banham setting a 51.8, 1/10 quicker last time around as well, so 51.819, the new fastest lap and the new lap record in the Pit Bike 140 class. Lucas Brown though into 6th position, chasing Jamie King behind. 5.5 seconds is the gap between the two of them at the line last time around, and the gap between the lap times, well, that's around just under a second a lap. So this is going to go down to the wire to see if Lucas Brown can get inside the top 5, as there is the man that has just set the fastest all-time lap in the Pit Bike 140 class, the first rider to break into the 51. That is why you can see why his bike's slightly smoking though. And it's one thing we've seen actually when he was racing last season, is when his bike was just slightly smoking on coming out of corners, getting the puff out the corners there, slightly blue smoke, but we've never seen him have a mechanical issue because of it. And now 4 laps remaining in this race, and it's Rossi Banham still smoking away, and he's smoking the field. 10.5 seconds is the gap between himself and Taylor Lawrence, and it's going to be so impressive for these guys as now he comes towards the line with 1 corner remaining this time around through the pit bends. And will he do even better this time around? It's a 52.5, not quite.
I'm having deja vu to 2022 here, Lewis, because this is basically what Rossi Banham did in every single race bar a handful last season. He get to the front early, and then just time attack it and set lap records and go faster and faster and faster every single lap. He's now getting some back markers in the way, so won't be a lap record this time by unless he really pulls something magical out of the hat. But he's 12 seconds ahead of Taylor Lawrence, and we know how good Taylor Lawrence is. Of course, the 2021 pit bike champion who missed out most of last season. Again, he said he retired, then he came back, then he retired again, then he came back. Who knows what Taylor Lawrence is up to as Rossi Banham clatters the curbs heading through there on that number one Mishwell. It's got the number one on the sides. It's officially the 196, but he's still absolutely flying, and again shows he has not lost an ounce of pace since he's been away from the Fab Racing paddock. There is your second place man, Taylor Lawrence, on the number 10, still doing a great job. He's a second ahead of Chris Wells at the line last time round. It will be 2 laps left to run. The penultimate lap for Taylor Lawrence here in race 1 as they come through, and there is problems there for one of the riders further down the field. And that looks like it's Zach Turini who's gone off, and another rider there as well, so hopefully everything is okay. On the penultimate lap of the race, it's Rossi Banham from Taylor Lawrence, from Chris Wells in P3 with Jamie King in P4, and Lucas Brown has got through Liam Wood. Lucas Brown is up into 5th place.
Rossi Banham continues to lead the way. Rossi in the name and Rossi on the circuit, that is for sure. 13.2 seconds is the gap between them, and now Chris Wells in the podium positions at the moment. And now actually Lucas Brown inside the top 5 as they head towards the final lap of the race. His bike continues to smoke.
It does indeed. Of course, Chris Wells cannot wrap up the championship finishing where he will if he finishes in P3 with Liam Wood in P6, but it is all advantage to him heading into race 2. But Rossi Banham has just gone out and does what Rossi Banham does. He is led from the front the entire way. It's 15 seconds back to Taylor Lawrence. Last time he's already wheeling because he knows as long as he doesn't fall off the bike, he's won the thing. He has been phenomenal. He's like he's not even been away a day. Has the 196, and he's got about half a lap left to finish before he takes a classic Rossi Banham victory of just utter domination with a few corners left to go. Welcome back to Fab Racing. The 196 Rossi Banham will win in dominant fashion at Whilton Mill. He takes race 1, smashes the lap record in the process. Lee Clowes, the flag marshal, shaking her head. She can't believe how far in front of everyone else is, and he's looking around. Where is everybody? Rossi Banham, absolutely superb stuff. Gives a wheelie for the camera and all. That was just a Sunday evening ride. Super simple for the 196, the reigning champion. Taylor Lawrence on his return to Fab Racing as well. He does a phenomenal job to bring it home in second place, and now he is showboat. He's looking straight at the camera and wheeling. He knows what he's done. He's just having fun out there.
Just a day's work for Rossi Banham. An impressive race there from him. Taylor Lawrence though, second place, and he did get a bad start, keep in mind, so potentially tomorrow if he can get a better start and disrupt Rossi Banham's rhythm, he might just be able to have a little play with him and a little tussle on the circuit. Chris Wells though in third with Lucas Brown claiming 4th position. So Lucas Brown inside the top 4. I thought he would finish around 6th place. He's definitely done better than that, to say the least. Jamie King in 5th with Liam Wood still in championship contention, but Rossi Banham making a dramatic return to Fab Racing. 16.6 seconds is the gap between himself and Taylor Lawrence at the line. Chris Wells though, the first of our full championship runners this season, he's in 3rd position ahead of Lucas Brown, who started from the back of the field and finished in 4th. Jamie King and Liam Wood finished in 5th and 6th, with Brandon Keane and Keaton Payne in 7th and 8th. Joshua French and Stephen Butterworth finished in 10th position and rounded out the top 10 from an excellent pit by 140 race. Rossi Banham, you have to take your hat off to him.
It's like he hasn't even been gone a day, has it? The 196, the reigning champion, Rossi Banham, makes his Fab Racing return and continues to dominate. There we see problems there for one of the riders. I think that was Reece Peacock, who's pushing his bike by foot to get back to the pit lane. Unfortunately, he was a DNF along with Sean Whittaker on the number 12. A big shame for him again on his return to Fab Racing as well after a few rounds away. Reece Peacock, also an absolutely phenomenal rider, but he can show us what he's got tomorrow on Sunday, because there's still race 2 and 3 left to run in the pit by 140s. There's a bit of a scrum trying to get back into the paddock, as there we see Bailey Lawrence happy with her result. But wow, what a great day of racing we've seen here today, Lawrence. What a performance by Rossi Banham. It's all to play for tomorrow.
It's all to play for tomorrow, and now the bikes making their way into potentially a check area at the moment. So potentially some extra checks being done on these pit by 140s after the race, because all the riders with their machines are in the holding area at the moment. So none of the pit by 140s making their way back to the paddock as potentially some extra checks. But a great race from these guys. Very, very hot, as you can see there from Shannon King. She's absolutely sweating. She's pretty much done after that race. It doesn't look like she could have done too many more laps. Noah Gilray as well, looking very, very sweaty underneath his helmet. Get a picture taken by his mum as well for the Facebook, I am sure, to show off his result from the family and his return after a couple of rounds away. 13th position finish for Noah Gilray. And you can see as well, Reece Peacock finally pushing it back, and you have to give it to him. Reece Peacock, a very, very busy schedule, as Taylor Lawrence talks about what he could do better. A Royal Navy badge on the front of that bike as well. Of course, why he stopped racing in the first place and then came back and then missed it a bit more and then came back again. But you can still see he's not lost it either.
No, he has not. Again, Taylor Lawrence is a so-called retirement to go to the Navy, not really being a retirement at all. It's great to have him back here at FAB Racing, as maybe these are surprise extra checks on the pit bike machines. Hopefully everything is all okay and we can pass scrutineering without any issues. But you can see just how hard these guys have been working out there. Again, the sun is starting to set, the temperature starting just to come down a little bit, but these guys are completely out of breath, so sweaty. You can just see how hard it was for them to work out there today in the 30-degree heat. And although it's going to be a little bit of a lower temperature tomorrow, they've still got 2 races to run. It's still going to be hot. Fatigue, I think, is really going to play a big part, especially as they come into race 3. It's who's got the legs, who's got the lungs to go the full race weekend.
20 races on tomorrow's schedule. Every single class will get 2 more races this weekend. Conditions are looking as sunny as ever and as warm as ever. It's been a scorching day here. We've seen some great battles on and off the circuit, and as well tomorrow we hope to see the same. Thanks to all the marshals, the medics and the officials for keeping this event going so swiftly throughout the day. It's been great to commentate on it in the commentary box here at Whilton Mill. Great facilities as always, but we'll be back again for 20 races on Sunday.
On the road to MotoGP.
1, 2, 3.
FAB Racing Mini Bikes British Championship.